All right, y'all. Oh, we got some things to talk about, man. I'm gonna wait a couple minutes, of course. I think in the meantime, I am going to hook up my other microphone since nobody's here yet. Oh yeah, it's about to get real. This is super impromptu. So the comments coming in already. I'm a this wasn't as bad as okay. All right, hold up. We're gonna get into that. All right. I gotta start putting these comments on already. All right, let's get into it. All right. Mr. I am Mr. No says, I can't wait to hear this. Hold up. Yo, 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 yo. Woo! This is about to get real. Hold up. All right. I gotta put the mic on. Yeah, we about to fix that. Hold up, y'all. The camera's DOA. Crazy. Hold up, I'm fixing the mic. There we go. There we go. Let me take this off. Let's go ahead and drop this in here. All right. Should be better. All right, y'all. Oh, snap. Oh, snap, y'all. All right, first of all, I know that this was not planned. But let me know real quick if audio is okay, if the video feed is okay. Let me know. I need 3 people right now to let me know if my audio and my video looks okay. All right? Let me know. I'll wait. And good morning. Oh, I got some clipping going on. Good morning, y'all. Good morning. Yeah, we about to talk. We are about to talk about this Sony FX2. Ah! Oh, the camera drama begins. I'm going to just get into it. I was going to wait and give YouTube time to push out the notifications and all that. But you know what? We here. So first of all, what's up? Hope you are having a great day so far. Sony just announced the new Sony FX2. And I will say, I was wrong. This echo in my ear is really making me mad. Let me turn this down. All right, so I will say first that I was wrong about the FX2. I dropped a video the other day, and I said that for $3,500, this camera's a complete bust. I was wrong on the price. I was right on everything else, but I was wrong on the price. So this camera, I believe, is $2,700. Oh, hold up. I got to change the thumbnail, y'all. It ain't put the right thumbnail on here. Cam just called me out. Hold on. Why is it the wrong? Anyways, I'm going to continue to talk while I'm doing this. So I was wrong about the thumbnail. I was wrong about the camera price. The FX2 came in at $2,700, I believe. And I'm going to say this right now. The same thing I said in my other video. I just don't understand this camera. But all of that's irrelevant. It's not irrelevant. We're going to get to all of that. But I'm going to talk about like what the camera is, what it's not, the price. I'm trying to get to Sony Cine's website so I can pull up the price. I believe it is $2,700. So I was wrong about the price. I was also wrong about it potentially shooting internally, 32-bit float. Yeah, that was a lie. That was a freaking lie. How much is the damn camera? Hold up. Too much. Okay, 2,700 for body only. I'm right. So 2,700 for freaking body only. And the last thing I want to do real quick is Cam is texting me making fun of my thumbnail, which I thought I set the thumbnail, but maybe I didn't. So I'm going to update the thumbnail real quick, and then we're going to get into the meat and potatoes. I'm going to go through these comments too. But yeah, so the FX2 is $2,700. And I feel like it should still be cheaper. Hold on, I'm setting the thumbnail. Give me 1 second, y'all. Is this it? Oh, file is... I hate when you try to do it from... Whatever. It's just going to have a bad thumbnail for now. All right, anyways. So $2,700. And basically what we got is a A7 IV, the same sensor, an updated FX3 body, which I'm not mad about the body, AI, and that's pretty much freaking it for $2,700. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is I don't want to just completely write this camera off as pointless for everybody. There is a camera for everybody. And this camera, although I personally think it's a silly drop. I don't know what Sony was thinking with this camera. It does fit somebody's use case. I know somebody. My dude Devin has an A7 IV. Hates how much it overheats. He loves the image out of it, loves it for photography, but hates how it doesn't have the AI, and it also doesn't have an EVF, and it overheats. So for somebody like that who maybe's already invested in Sony, who maybe didn't want to get the FX30 because he doesn't want a crop sensor, and maybe he didn't want to drop 4 bands on the FX3, I can see how maybe this could be a solution for him, right? Also, Sony marketed this camera as a intermediary cinema line camera for the new filmmaker. And I have a problem with that. I have a big problem with that because, in my opinion, and I'm probably going to be all over the place in this stream. Y'all know how I get. It just is what it is. And Sony probably ain't going to invite me. Look at the irony. I got on a condo trip shirt. They probably ain't going to invite me nowhere after this live stream. And you know what? So be it. This is one dumb drop. It is. And while I'm not a marketing genius, we could sit here and say the camera ain't going to sell. People's going to buy it. Sony knows what they're doing when it comes to marketing, and they'll sell a ton of these cameras, just like they do any other camera they drop. But I just don't see a point in this camera. I didn't want to bring up the competition, y'all, but I feel like we got to bring up the competition, and we're gonna get to that in a second. But let me hit some of these comments. I'm gonna try to do these comments fast because I got cooked on my last video because I take too long in the comments. Can't wait to hear this. Oh, are my comments back on the stream? All right, they back. All right, bet. All right. Sony lost it. Wow. Yeah, buddy, we here. This wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. We're going to talk about that in a second. There's a lot of tequila being drunk over there. They got fat and comfortable. Simple as that. All right. My man, yo, Shield Team 6 in the house. Kofi in the house. A little quiet. Hopefully I fixed that. I turned up the volume. What up, Connor? Camera is so DOA. I'm going to mention one camera right now, y'all. One camera that is $2,500. And that is the Lumix S5 2E. Keep that in your back pocket because we're going to go back to that. Happy Wednesday. Happy A74 and a new body day. You ain't lying. The FX30 is cheaper and the same thing basically. Yo, it is. The FX30 is a better. Wait, hold on. Cam just said the super chat. Let's go ahead and acknowledge Cam's super chat for $4.99. Thank you, Cam. Appreciate you as always. Terry's shirt looking extra tight today. Everyone hit the thumbs up. The man ain't lying to you. Yes, this is an extra small condo trip shirt. Thank you for the super chat, bro. Let me get back to these comments real quick. All right. Think they was making all that money. I think after the last couple cameras, whoever was over, they got fired. Them or something. You got idiots over there. Hilarious. All right. Hold on. Let's get to it. Let us know how you really feel. You already know I am. I'm not mad at it. It's basically an A7 IV had a baby with an FX30 without 32-bit audio. Popcorn. Sony got the team making a PlayStation 6 or something. I don't know what the hell going on over there. I might use A7 IV, slap one of those cheap stick-on fans to it before looking at this twice. Wow, that's crazy. I'm not mad at that. All right, audio, video, great. Audio's top. I don't know. They were selling crack in Japan. Oh, my God. This guy is on something. Audio's good. Everything is good. Looking tight. Shirt good. Good afternoon from Rotterdam. What's up? All clear. Sony selling us the same camera for the third time. Yeah, you ain't lying. It's a backlight or a hair light. All right, bet. I'm thinking Black Magic. Ooh. With the exception of Empire Strike Back, sequels are usually not as good as the original. Fair point. But wait. FX2 is embarrassing. Disappointment in every way. 5-year-old tech with a new autofocus thrown in, slowish sensor, no 32-bit float, cropped in 60, crop stabilization, cropped raw HDMI. Somebody get this man a drink because he ain't lying. My FX30 ain't going nowhere unless I have enough money for FX3. Leakers were wrong on the price. Yes, we were. I acknowledge that I was definitely wrong on the price of it. Loving the look of the stream. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Oh, Armando in the house. Also, no 32-bit float. Absolutely. Literally must be a bet between Sony execs to see how much suck they can get people to buy. Oh, my God. Yeah, that's crazy. No 32-bit float. I didn't notice. Yeah, man. No 32-bit float in it. Seems like the EVF will make it a bit harder to rig. This is a valid point real quick. And I'm going to throw this out there. Wish they would have went with the GFX route with the removable, tiltable EVF. Absolutely. And this is half my problem. Okay. The idea of an EVF on an FX camera, I'm not mad at it. When I had an FX30, one thing that I always said was that rear display on the FX3 sucks, right? And if I didn't have a monitor, let me back up. I had an A7S3 and I sold it for FX3. And one of the first things I always missed is when I was outdoors, if I didn't have a monitor on the A7S3, you had that, what was it? 9 million dot EVF. That was 120 frames a second. It was crazy good. So yes, it was dope to be able to frame up through there because the rear display sucked if I didn't have a monitor. So when I got an FX3, I was like, yeah, that would have been dope. And that's honestly one of the things I missed most about the A7S3. So I'm not mad about the EVF. The problem is once you flip up the EVF, you can't put anything else on top of the camera. Petapixel uploaded. You need to make sure you watch their review because I feel like theirs was very fair. And I'm going to go somewhere with this in a second. Petapixel showed how you can't even put a freaking Rode microphone receiver on top of the camera because then the EVF gets blocked. So if you want to mount anything to the top of the camera, good freaking luck. Good luck. Because the EVF is in the freaking way. I would have loved to see it be detachable. That would have been A W. Now, the tiltable EVF is fire. I'm not mad at that. And they should have always had that. But I agree, it should have been removable in some type of way. Sony's stupid squad. Oh, my God, bro. It's on one. Yep. EVF made it harder to rig. Grandma leftovers heated up. Oh, okay. Me and Armando were talking yesterday, and I'm glad somebody said this. All right. Remember, y'all, the FX3A just got, I mean, they didn't make an announcement, but it got launched about 3 weeks ago. And why did they make the FX3A? Remember, they said that the monitors that they were using on the original FX3 were no longer in production. That monitor was the 1.03 million dot rear display. Trash. Okay. So they said that we're making an FX3A because that monitor is no longer in production. But guess what? Guess what screen is on the back of the FX2? It's not the 2 million dot EVF. I'm sorry. It's not the 2 million dot display from the FX30 that they're putting in the FX3A. It is the same 1 million dot EVF that Sony just said we don't have any more of, which is why we're putting the new screens in the FX3A. So how do we have a new camera when Sony just said the screen is not in production and this FX2 is launching with the old screen? That, Sony, okay, call y'all out, but y'all need to get called out. That's some trash. 2700, all right, 2700, yep. And yes, the rear display is poor resolution. It's the same old 1 million dot, okay? I wanted to hate this camera when it was leaked, but I don't hate it as much as I expected. Okay, so let's talk about that real quick. And this is why I said at the beginning of this stream, the FX2, to me, is a silly camera. However, that doesn't mean that it's a silly camera for everybody. I do know a few people who love the A7 IV, who hate the fact that it overheats, who wanted the updated AI processing, who wanted a built-in fan, and they wanted the FX body. They wanted the mount points and, you know, tally lights and all that stuff, right? So there are some people who this will be for, and I'm not here to like discredit those people. Also, I know we keep throwing around this Lumix T, which I'm gonna show y'all this right here. Okay. This S1 Mark II, I'm gonna say it on the Sony stream. The S1 Mark II has made it to none of these new cameras are exciting to me. This is a god tier camera, y'all. But anyways, let's bring up the S5 IIe. Now, I'm realizing, and I know that not everybody wants to jump systems, and you shouldn't. You should not just be jumping systems because a new camera comes out. However, if you are willing to jump systems and you don't want to go spend the bag, guess what Lumix has? The S5 Mark IIe, $2,500. So it's cheaper. It's got a way better EVF, although not tiltable, a way better rear display. It's not as many megapixels, so it's only 24 megapixels. Fine. But everything that the FX2 has, it has, and way more for less. I'm just saying. But for people that don't want to jump systems, and maybe you have a bunch of Sony glass, for me, this is a hard sell. I'm going to be honest. Because at $2,700, Sony said that the reason that they made this camera was because there were people who wanted to be able to switch over to Super 35. And the FX3 cannot do that because it's only 12 megapixels. Right? So the A7C2 FX, I'm sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. The A7C2 and the A7 IV, because they are 33 megapixel sensors, can either give you oversample 4K from 7K, or in Super 35 will give you 4.7K, right? But I haven't talked to one person over all of these years that the FX3 has been out, that the A7S3 has been out, that the ZVE1 has been out, that the FX6 has been out, who said, man, I would love to be able to have a Super 35 crop. I'm sorry. And maybe I just don't work on enough film sets. I don't know. But I talk to creators and people who use cameras all the time, and I've never heard once, bro, give me, I would rather trade off, okay, I would rather get rid of this crazy dual base ISO of 800 and 12,800 or whatever it is, and the crazy roll and shutter performance in exchange for Super 35 mode. That's the first thing. The second thing, I don't care what you say, the A7 IV sensor is old, okay? And companies like Sony don't extract everything that they can out the sensor. It would be crazy if, you know what I'm gonna say? It would be wild if Lumix got a hold of this A7 IV sensor, or Nikon. Lumix squeezes the piss out of every sensor out there. Imagine what Lumix would do with this 33 megapixel sensor, but Sony does not push the sensors to the limit. So we, in fact, have the same sensor, hate it or love it, that the A7 IV dropped with 3 years ago, right? And it's not that the sensor doesn't look good. All sensors look good, and it's got great dynamic range. But, and I hate to bring up the competition, but this is $2,700, right? When you throw in a camera like the S1 Mark II to the mix, it's only a couple $400 more. And I'm not saying $400 is not significant, because it's a big deal. However, you got a camera that has no roll and shutter issues and gives you all of this stuff and more. And Sony comes out with a camera with terrible roll and shutter. That's supposed. Now, roll and shutter is not a big deal for everybody. Okay, fair enough. Most people don't even notice it. But what I didn't like what Sony did is, instead of just acknowledging that, hey, the sensor is slow, they said, well, we allow you to punch in the Super 35 to get a faster readout. And that's not by design, though. Like, that's because it's a limitation of the process and pipeline that they have in the A7 IV. They have to crop in the Super 35. So this is not like a feature. This is something that it just can't do. And in my opinion, coming out with a full frame camera that's not a budget camera, okay, this will be a different conversation if the camera was $1,900, right? Then we are able to, okay, you know, $1,900. All right, we understand. We understand, to keep costs low, you had to punch in the Super 35 to get 4K 60. But at $3,000 in May of 2025, dropping a camera for $2,800, $2,700, whatever, that punches in the Super 35 for 4K 60 is wild. It is wild. And on top of that, I would have even been more excited if Sony were to give it more, right? You got Lumix and Nikon coming out with OpenGate and 6K and 8K flavors and CinemaScope flavors, and this is just the same old Sony stack. And while I'm not saying it's not capable, when you compare it to the competition, when you got even the S5 II, which is the baby version of this, that's $2,500, CinemaScope, OpenGate 6K 30, and then Sony comes out with the same old stack, 4K 30, 422, 10-bit. And I hate that. That sounds so pompous. Like, I'm so grateful that we have these pocket rockets that could do this, right? But come on, man. Y'all could have gave us something. And then it's the same. Okay, I'm getting into the weeds, and I'm just frustrated with this camera. It's the same old anamorphic de-stretch problem. Only 1.33 and 2 times. What about the people in the 1.5 and 1.6x cam? No support for them. And it's just all of these other things that, in my opinion, they could have done with this camera to make it worth the money. Instead, what they did is basically reverse engineered the camera. That's all they did. Instead of making it a photography first camera and then a video first camera, they made it a video first and photography second. That's it. I guess I'm not mad at trying to take a different approach, but it's like, come on, Sony can, like, it's like the lack of innovation from them right now is just blowing my mind. It is. And they might be mad at me for saying this, whatever. Sony's lack of innovation right now is wild. In the lens department, they're crushing it. But in the camera department, like, they can say that people wanted this camera. I'm sorry, I don't believe that. I don't believe anybody wanted this camera. Now, because it's out, people will, you know, of course, like I said, people will buy it, but who asked for this camera? Who asked for it? Man, where are we at? Okay. This is why I need to stay in the comments, because I get sidetracked. So here's the thing. At $3,500, this is a good comment. At $3,500, I said Sony is out of their rabbit minds if they think that $3,500 for this camera is a good, like this is the price, right? At $2,700, it is much more reasonable. It is much more reasonable. And again, if you wanted to stay in Sony and you're part of this small group of people who maybe hated the A7 IV, really wanted the FX camera, but didn't want to drop a whole lot of money and didn't want to go with a crop sensor, I mean, okay. But again, it's just like, man, when you look at the competition out there, this looks like, you know, Petapixel said it best. This looks like a camera from 2021. And again, I'm not saying that the camera's not capable. You know, any camera these days is more than capable. But this camera, I'm sorry, for $2,700 is gimped. Super 35 RAW. You got cameras that are doing RAW internally. You want to know which one does it for freaking $2,500? The S1 2E. Am I right on that? Even if it doesn't do RAW, it does ProRes internally. And it does do ProRes RAW internally. 5.8K. For cheaper. So again, I'm not saying that the camera is not capable. Sure it is, but it's like for this camera should have been, in my opinion, like $2,400. I think $2,700 is a bit much. Now, sure, they put in the new AI processing, so it's got the new autofocus, which, you know, I ain't gonna take away from their autofocus. Sony has the best autofocus out there, and I'm happy to see that all of their newer cameras are getting like automatic subject detection. Like, I don't want to have to go in there and pick which subject I'm trying to detect. So that's dope. So they added that in. They added in S-Log3 stills, but again, it's a weird thing because you got this 33 megapixel sensor, but you can't do S-Log photos at 33 megapixels. You can only do S-Log photos at 8 megapixels or whatever, however many. Yeah, 4K. 4K, so 8 megapixels. So on top of that, there's no real system where you can apply all of your custom LUTs to your S-Log3, even if you take like the screenshots, right? Because there's a way while the video is recorded, you can program a shot mark and that'll automatically spit out an 8-bit JPEG. But it's S-Log, no, it's not even a preview LUT on there. It's just a blank S-Log3 image, which means now you got to go color grade it. And again, when you take a look at the competition, Lumix has been doing real-time LUT that gives you a graded image from Vlog right in the camera with the ability to cycle through 39 LUTs in the freaking camera and download more if you want to and create more. So it's just like, if I'm Sony and I'm looking at all of this innovation happening around me, I don't know how, for me, it's just like, man, either they waiting, they playing cat and mouse, maybe they trying to see how the tariff situation work out. They probably had all these A7 IV sensors laying around. It was like, yo, we got to do something. Got to do something, y'all. So let's come out with this camera. Anyways, for $2,700, I do think it is way more reasonable than the rumored $3,500. But I'm also like, I don't know who came up with the rumor that it had internal 32-bit flow. It does not, y'all. It's the same top handle that came with the FX30 and the FX3. FX2 isn't perfect, but it is right. Tiltable EVF, unlimited recording. So they did tell us in the Sony briefing that this thing could run for like 13 hours straight, which I would say I believe it, because the FX3's cooling system is already probably one of the best out there, and it's got even more. So I'm also happy to see them finally start to put more than 1/4 20 thread on the camera. So on the bottom of the FX2, there's 2/4 20 holes, which is dope. And I hope that they start to put this in more cameras. In fact, I hope all companies start to put more than 1/4 20 hole on the bottom of cameras. At least put a locking pin next to it. Everyone hating on the S9, here is your turn. There you go. FX2, is it perfect? Oh, we read that already. Lumix. We got a super chat real quick. Hold on, let me jump down here. Oh, Armando with a 90. What happened to this? Why did it just shrink like that? Whoa, that was weird. Pause. Armando with a $99 super chat. Thank you so much, bro. I'm sorry, but I cannot recommend an FX2 in 2025. Biggest fail of 2025. First of all, thank you for the super chat, bro. Anytime y'all leave super chats, man, I know you don't have to, but I really appreciate it, especially a $100 super chat. Thank you, bro. It's a hard sell for me, too. It's like, all right, if somebody come up to me like, yo, Terry, I want to buy a new camera, you know, would you recommend an FX2? I probably would say no. It's just weird to me. And for real, I would have much rather saw an updated A7 IV. Bring an A7 IV out if this is what you really wanted. Bring an A7 IV out with the updates. Put the AI stuff in it, all of that stuff. Because I would much rather lean somebody towards a FX30. It's got more frame rates, more options, just about as much dynamic range, way cheaper, way better roll and shutter performance. I'm just saying. But anyways, thank you for that super chat, bro. I really appreciate that. Let's get back to these comments. How many coffees today, bro? Just one. I got to turn it up and get some more. Well, you can buy external fan to it, so not worth it. Valid point. He could have got an A7C too. Valid point. The EVF reminds me of old school camcorders, for sure. Okay, here's a good comment. If the FX2 existed, I would not have purchased the A7CR. Interesting. Again, I don't want to say that this FX2 is for nobody. There are for sure people who this might be a good fit for if you don't want to leave Sony. It's just a hard sell for me when you got other cameras out there like the Lumix S5 IIe. And even if you take out the competition, where is the innovation at? Let me be honest with y'all, and Sony ain't gonna like this, but a spade is a spade. This is just a repackaged camera. This is just taking the components that they already have laying around and put it into one camera. That's it. It is the exact same thing. There's no innovation whatsoever in this camera. And I think that's my big deal. Everybody else right now is dropping cameras that are innovating, right? Lumix is pushing the boundaries with their camera. They're pushing the limits with their cameras. They're giving you all of the things that no other company is willing to. Nikon is pushing the boundaries with their camera. They're giving you 6K. They're giving you 8K. They're giving you internal RAW. They're doing all of this thing, all of that stuff. And Sony just, again, and it's not to say that Sony cameras are bad. Clearly they work. I still use them. But when you compare all of these other cameras who are giving you, for less money, open gate recording, multiple frame workers, CinemaScope 4K, DCI 4K, and the list goes on and on and on, and then they drop this camera, which is just all of, this is how, okay, imagine if you had a car parts warehouse, right? You fix cars. Okay, and you had an engine over there, a door over there, an exhaust over there. None of these are, like, all of these parts are from different cars, right? But you got all these pieces. You got a transmission over there, a window over there. You was like, you know what? To hell with it. I want to make something today. I'm about to get all these parts and just throw them together. This is what this camera feels like to me. We had sensors laying around. We needed to use them. We had bodies laying around. We need to augment them. Get them out of here. The same processors. Yeah. Let's slap them in there. The same codec and resolution stack that we've been putting in our cameras for the last 4 years. There have not been any changes in Sony cameras when it comes to codecs, aspects, resolutions in 4 years. 4. They've been the same since the A7S3 came out. And again, I'm not saying that they're not capable. Sure, they're capable in the right hands. All these modern cameras are. But there has been, we don't even have 4K 30 and H.265 yet. So it's just the fact that there is no innovation in it whatsoever. I would feel like if I was still buying cameras, which I get it, I'm not buying cameras. The company send us the cameras now. But it's like, man, I would feel hosed. I would feel ripped off. Add a $4 stick-on heatsink to the A7 IV because this is not an A7 IV replacement. Fair. Hold on, we got another super chat. Let's get this one. Super chat from Jay Hunter. Thank you, bro. FX2 fits Sony's mantra. Incremental upgrades. I have been waiting for the Lumix GX8 replacement from Lumix, and Sony gave it to me. FX2 is a perfect dad camera. I'm not mad at you, bro. Like I said, there will be people who this camera is for, just like any other camera out there. But I thank you so much for the super chat donation, man. I really appreciate it. So sure, like it will be for some people. Sony ran out of ideas. Somebody just said that. Where's that comment at? When does Shield Team 6 arrive? Most of them in here already. Well, they weren't here. Sony ran out of ideas is what L said. I'm going to agree right there. Yeah, I don't think rolling shutter is as big of a deal as everyone makes it out to be. And I said the same thing with Lumix cameras. So I'm not saying that rolling shutter is like the end all be all. Most people that sat around complaining about rolling shutter, it was never an impact on them at all. But it's just, again, when you look at the competition, you know, that's a different conversation. When I had the A7 IV, I will say rolling shutter for me was a problem. And not for video. It was always a problem for me for photo. Eyes on the Lumix S1 too, but the autofocus there still kind of worries me. Lumix autofocus is solid. And here's the next thing I'm going to say. All right. It's almost like when Lumix drops a camera, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but example, the S1R Mark II. I'm about to piss some people off now. Y'all ready to piss some people off? Let's piss some people off. When the S1R Mark II came out, and by the way, I use Sony cameras. I got nothing against Sony. I am not brand loyal to any of these freaking companies. Not Lumix, not Sony, not Nikon, not Blackmagic, not DJI. I use them all. And at the end of the day, this is just business as usual for me. I don't really care. But obviously I'm a camera channel, so we talk about camera stuff. But what I find very weird, bro, is when Lumix comes out with a damn near perfect camera, the S1R Mark II. People destroyed it. Destroyed it. Oh, it's got bad rolling shutter. This is the worst camera ever. They should have never dropped. I mean, but the camera is just killer in every single way. But over one thing, that camera got written off. Yet Sony can drop a camera saying the same old song, singing the same old freaking song, and I don't see any major backlash. So I just want to throw that out there. Another super chat just came in. Y'all crushing it today. Thank you so much. From John Willis, the A7C2 is still a much better red option. Small camera for $1,000 less. Then you can buy external fan. As long as you can live with one SD card slot, you're fine. And if you have money, buy FX3 instead. I'm going to agree. Now, I'm not mad at the FX body. I love the FX body style. So, you know, again, I'm not saying that this won't be for somebody. I know people who have the A7 IV who want it to be able to stream with it longer. And by the way, they did up the streaming in this FX2 to 4K 30 from 4K 15 on the A7 IV. Let me ask y'all a question. Who in the hell uses 4K 15 for live streaming? Is there anybody? I don't understand why that's in cameras at all. But John, thank you so much for the super chat. I agree the A7C2 is cheaper, smaller, and as long as you can live with the one card slot, fine. Now, I do appreciate the changes that they made to the FX2's body. And I hope to see these changes go forward in either the FX30 Mark II or the FX3 Mark II whenever it comes. So you got a 7th customizable button. There's now a photo and video switch. It's still the same old switch to turn it on and off. But you got the microphone and the headphone ports moved to the bottom, but they're not covered up, which is weird. I do feel like they should have moved the thumbstick to the back of the camera and not the top of the camera. If this is going to be a photo camera also, then they should have moved it. And they also, what else did they do? Added the EVF. The HDMI port is now up top, and it does have dual slots. It's got one CF Express A slot and then a regular SD card slot. But neither here nor there. John, thank you so much for the super chat, bro. I really appreciate y'all. Y'all don't have to send this money. But the fact that y'all are, I really appreciate it. Sydney in the house, eating some grilled cheese and watching my dude stream. You are gross for eating grilled cheese, dog. Sydney, what do you think about the FX2? Let me know. FX30 is not full frame. Let's not trash the FX2 like that now. Okay, so here's the thing. Sony says that the reason that they dropped this camera was because there were people who wanted full frame but didn't want to go with the FX3, but didn't want to pay as much as the FX3, and they wanted Super 35. The problem is, would I recommend somebody buying like a FX, like if they wanted a full frame FX camera, I'm still sending them to the FX3. Well, maybe I'll step back on that. What I do like that they did is they changed the second base in this camera to 4,000. And if you watch Gerald's video, which I felt like Gerald's video, like Gerald, you my dog, but I'm about to tell you on stream, you was real hard on them Lumix cameras. Well, hey, hey, Gerald. I watched the video. I think you ain't go that hard on this camera, man. I'm gonna call you after the stream, bro. How many coffees today? We gonna have some more coffee in a minute. But per Gerald's video, the noise performance is better in the FX2. Dynamic range is about the same. Same roller shutter performance. Gerald's a A7 IV lover. So, I mean, I guess for him how it could, new sub, what up, Sebastian? I guess for him how it could be, and there's some people who it will be for, but I feel like the rolling shutter and Lumix cameras got made a huge deal out of, and Sony drops a camera with lackluster rolling shutter, and nobody's saying anything really about it. I don't know. I haven't used the Sigma 18-50. The FX2 is a very OM system move from Sony. I don't know what that OM means. Somebody explain that to me. Is that young? Is that YN lingo? I don't know what that is. Do we know how well it performs though? Maybe it could have a space for certain content creators. I mean, I don't have it, so I can't speak on it. I did own the A7 IV. I thought that sensor for photography was great. For video, I felt like it was kind of meh. I mean, does the image out of it look amazing? Yes. But I don't like dealing with Super 35 crops. I also am spoiled, absolutely spoiled, by the amount of options that you get in Lumix cameras when it comes to resolutions, frame rates, aspect ratios, all that. I mean, you pick up a Lumix camera, and maybe a lot of you Sony snobs, and I used to be a only Sony snob, so I'm not trying to diss you, but, you know, when it comes to video, all right, There's definitely sweeter tea out there. You know what I'm saying? Like you pick up a Lumix camera, you get, even if you get like a S9, you get 6K30 open gate, 6K24 open gate, 5.8K, 4K. You know what I'm saying? All of these options in there. In whatever aspect ratio combination you want, anamorphic support, de-squeeze support, you know, all of this stuff in Lumix cameras, you get real spoiled. And then when you go back to a Sony camera, although I'm not saying Sony cameras are not capable, you realize how limiting they are. And I get it. They just work. They do. I will never take that. Like Sonys are mad reliable. You know what kind of experience you're going to get every time you pick the camera up. Selling point, sure. But Lumix is just giving so much sauce, so it's hard to get excited about this camera when it's like, bro, there's no innovation in it. It's just all the old parts thrown into a new camera. NYC in the house. I don't really see how it fits it. Other than that, I'm really indifferent. I'm waiting to hear about the Lumix announcement. Lumix's announcement. Let me restart. One thing y'all don't know about live streaming is when you hear the echo and the delay in your ear, it throws off your speech. I don't really see how it fits in. Agreed. Other than that, I'm really indifferent. Truthfully, I am too. I don't give a damn if you buy the camera or not, or anybody buys the camera. I don't care if y'all buy any of these cameras. I'm waiting to hear about Lumix's unannounced FX3 like camera. I think we all are. Don't forget the like. Yeah, we got, 103 people in the stream and there's 31 likes. We was up to like 125 at one point. I saw it. Hit the like button, y'all. This is how YouTube knows to send it out to more people. Hit the like button. Chat roasting today. Yeah, they are. Black Magic was ahead of his time. Absolutely. What kind of lav mics are you using when you're outside? I remember you saying you hated seeing mics on shirts and video. I never said that. I'm always holding a mic or have a mic on my shirt. In fact, I do it intentionally to piss people off. Because everybody, like, I hate when people hold the mic, so I'm going to hold the mic. But I'm using DJI mics right now. DJI Mic 2s and DJI Mic Minis. Imagine releasing a cinema line camera with any sort of photo capabilities. I get it, but I really effing don't. I agree. All right, we got a different type of comment. Stop complaining on Sony. Y'all have the solution, and it's called S1 Mark II. Buy now, be happy. Also, after A7 V will be released. Okay, I thought this was going somewhere different. No, we shouldn't stop complaining. We shouldn't stop complaining. Sony, as much as I love them, I love their cameras, I love their lenses, they ought to be ashamed with themselves with this camera drop. I'm going to call a spade a spade. This is in my opinion, a money grab. We got all these spare parts laying around. We got to make something new. Or try to make something new. I want to see Sony innovate. When you got cheaper cameras like the Lumix S9, bro, I'm not talking to you, but what I'm saying is when you got cheaper cameras like the Lumix S9, that's $1,400. That shoots 6K30, up to 6K30 open gate, bro. Like we just want to see Sony innovate, and right now it's like they got complacent. We top dogs. We don't need to push the envelope no more. We've pushed the envelope for so long, which they have. Mirrorless, I'm going to acknowledge this. Mirrorless would not be where it is today without Sony. Yes, they were the catalyst to push mirrorless cameras into the stratosphere. But just because you push them into the stratosphere, you can't stop, because you push the whole industry to the stratosphere, and now the industry's doing this, and you're still right here. Put it back on. The industry's now here. The camera companies are now here, and Sony, although you got everybody to right here, now everybody's pulling ahead. So now all of this is irrelevant. The work that you put in to get us here, I mean, for bragging rights, sure, but when it comes to what cameras people are picking, that's irrelevant. Thank you for bringing us into the stratosphere of mirrorless cameras, but now you can't get complacent and say we've done enough, because this is how you get left behind. Look what happened to Canon. FX2 is Sony's answer to complete with the Lumix S5 2X. I would still recommend the S5 2X over this camera. Period. Oh, another super chat real quick. I'm going to get to that in 1 second. I would still recommend somebody to buy the S5 2X over the FX2. Hands down. It is a much more complete camera. The only reservation is it's 24 megapixels versus 33 megapixels. Aside from that, I would push somebody to buy the S5 2X hands freaking down. And you just made a point. Let me just bring up one thing that the S5 2X can do that the FX3 can't do, FX30 can't do, FX2 can't do, is record externally to a SSD. And this is the type of stuff I'm talking about. In 2025, Sony has not given us anything extra but AI autofocus, which is amazing. But outside of that, can we record to SSDs? No. Can we shoot ProRes? No. Can we do any type of resolution outside of 4K? No. Can we shoot any other aspect ratios outside of 16:9 for video and 3:2, I think? No. You know, and that list goes on and on and on. The S5 2X you could get for under $2,000 brand new, and is a much more complete camera than Sony's new FX2. And then the S1 2E is $2,500, and still, yes, a much more complete camera, even more so than S5 2X, for still cheaper. Look, I would have liked to see this FX2 at around $2,200, $2,300. Then that conversation is totally different. At $2,700, I'm just going to tell you to spend another $400 and get an S1 II. If you have an XLR handle on an EVF, would be a pain to look through. It would be. It would be absolutely a pain to look through. Again, Petapixel showed how, although in practice, if you're just using the camera without any attachment, sure. But what about when you mount it on the gimbal? What about when you want to put microphones on top? The EVF then becomes, I won't say useless, but you lose the advantage of being able to tilt it. As a time-lapse guy, I like this release. I could use the resolution for that and also use it as a B-cam next to my FX3. Again, I'm not saying that this won't be for some people. It will be. And I'm happy for you. It will be a good camera for you. Preston, what up? Got to be rough to drop this after the spring that Lumix has just had. I would be scared to drop anything after the run Lumix just went on, bro. I'm hiding. If I couldn't match this heat, like, oh God, man. Lumix really has like us looking at every camera release like, bro, did you not see what Lumix just did? And I hate to sound like a Lumix fanboy, but it's just like, man, come on, Sony, like, fight back, bro. Fight back, dog. This is not fighting back. This FX2 is not fighting back. So this is a good point. And I said this in my last video. I think Sony could be hiding the cars that they have, whether it's because of tariffs, whether it's because they want to finish dropping or watching everybody else drop. I kind of felt like that at one point, but at another point, we haven't seen any new sensors get registered. It doesn't appear that Sony's going to change anything when it comes to like making the video cameras more capable. So, you know, I was hoping that they was just playing like cat and mouse, and maybe this was just a drop to say, hey, we got to drop something because everybody's all crazy over Lumix and Nikon. But this seemed like the same old song. Will Petapixel get put a timeout for accidentally uploaded early from Sony? I didn't know that they did, but they're Petapixel. Probably not. John said, I'll be honest, Terry, I don't understand the point of this camera. You either get an A7C II by a third-party fan and save yourself $1,000 if you can live with one car slot. Oh, I think we read this comment already. Yep, John, you're right. This is true about add-on fans. It's the S1 II. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. Okay, there was actually a petition for the concept of an FX2 with near 2,000 signatures that Philip Bloom made. I think he wanted it to be removable, but people did ask for it. Yeah, I'm not saying that like the EVF is a bad idea. In fact, when I had an FX3, I missed it after selling my A7S3. Lumix, here I come. I would never just tell you to jump systems, especially if you have lenses. I mean, you do what you want to do. If the S1, listen, the Lumix cameras are wild, but you have to consider the whole ecosystem. So before you make a switch, just consider that. And also realize that this is just the up and downs of the camera world, the technology in general. The camera world and the tech world is a game of leapfrogs. One camera jumps ahead. Okay, this is Lumix right now jumping ahead. Sony jumped ahead for a while. Canon was ahead for a while. Nikon will probably eventually be ahead for, well, they were. When they dropped the Z8 or Z9, like the whole world was upside down in the camera space. So just, you know, this is not Sony dying, y'all. I hope not. And we will see another leapfrog, just like we always do, of another company. Lumix is ahead right now. But eventually somebody's going to probably overtake Lumix unless Lumix keep the pressure on, like, y'all can't touch me. And you can't use the EVF on the A7C2 with the fan and the screen open. Facts. Been waiting 5 years for someone to say a Lumix camera is God tier. Listen, y'all. It is. The S1 Mark II is a God tier camera. And I don't like using, that's lowercase g. That is not an uppercase G. We do not play around with God's name in here. No, sir. But lowercase g, God tier. Absolutely. Hot take. I've never used or gave shit about autofocus in production or in day-to-day use. I'm going to disagree. I rely on autofocus. For sure. Armando jumping to head of the class. Yeah, that was that $100 super chat he dropped. Loan you $1. Price $2,700. Lumix money. That's that Lumix money Armando throwing around. Y'all can fully expect Armando to make a video on this probably. So hold on one second. All right. I'm hoping they don't sell well so I can catch one cheap on sale for hybrid shooting with the best autofocus. I'm not mad at that. What I do like is it is dope to now have an FX camera with the best autofocus you could get out there. Because hate it or love it, Sony makes the best autofocus systems for sure. Josh said Armando's low light comparison was the final straw. I'm definitely jumping ship to the S1 too. The S12 is so good, bro. I have the FX30. The S1R2 is more than worth it than the FX2 for sure. Unless you have a lot of Sony glass for sure. The low light noise is one more thing. I want to see more information. So Gerald did show this in his video. They bumped the second base up to 4,000 ISO or 5,000, one of the two. And they reduce the amount of noise reduction that's applied, which is a good thing because that gives you a more filmic look right out the camera, gives you more like film grain instead of like that blotchy noise reduced type of noise. So they did change that, and they also shifted the color science a little bit, like they did on the Alpha 1 Mark II. Don't say weeds anywhere near Portland. I'm not sure what that is. It isn't ungrateful for you to expect the brand to make waves, innovation like other brands within the same space and are doing. Yeah, this was, I get what you're saying. It's not unreasonable for us to ask for this because all the other brands are giving it to us. And that's my biggest thing. It's not the fact that this is an incapable camera. It's not. It is a very capable camera. But again, it's just the fact that, yo, other companies are giving more for less money. And as a Sony shooter, I will feel ripped off. I feel like it's just crumbs from Sony, and the FX3 Mark II, FX4 will be like $5,000 USD. And if you complain about the camera, they will say there's an FX2, FX3. Probably a good point. Here's what's crazy. Sony made a full-frame Lumix GX8 before Sony did. Armando, this is my sentiments. So Armando says that's because Sony has A7 IV sensors they need to dump. I firmly believe this. You want to know why? Because if they didn't, why not develop a new sensor for this camera? They must have had a ton of A7 IVs either left on consignment or sitting in the warehouse. Because why use that sensor? Sorry, y'all. 1 second. I feel like they just had a bunch of sensors laying around. Or either they have a consignment order and they need to fulfill these orders. I'm sure they have a certain number of sensors that have to be sold to meet some type of bottom line, to be profitable, whatever. Maybe they had X amount of hundreds of tens of thousands of them on consignment, and maybe they need to get rid of them. I just can't understand why, anyways. But Armando, I agree. It's my theory that they just had a bunch of sensors laying around they need to get rid of. They can't get mad. I'm for the people. I am for the people at the end of the day. I love the brands I get to work with. It's getting hot in here. Hey. Yes, I love to be able to work with all the brands, and I value my brand partnerships and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, I am for my audience, which means I'm gonna be honest, like I've had conversations with some brands in the past, Sony being one of them, and they was like, we don't like when you make leak videos or like, rumor videos, because I used to do them a lot before I started to like hate the whole leak culture. And for a while, I stopped doing them because I was like, man, I don't want my relationship to get tarnished with them. And I'm like, hold on. This is my channel. And any brand that don't want to work with me because of what I choose to talk about, tough. I am for my audience. Problem is, even if an FX3 Mark II comes out, it won't be anywhere near the competition. And on top of that, will be $2,000 more. Facts. Mighty Midgie, what up? What Armando was saying has to be the only answer. Yeah, me and Armando kind of came up with the same conclusion. That this was either a money grab or they had sensors that they needed to clear out. They're like, we got to put them in something. We're not willing to drop the A7 V yet. Or maybe the A7 V is not ready yet. Which, you know what the A7 V is going to be, y'all? If you want to ask me, it's going to be the same thing we just saw. It's not going to be anything new. It's going to be taking an A7 IV sensor and slapping all of this newer stuff around it. Is Sony just trying to lull the competition to sleep with the intent of dropping some mega awesome camera later this year? Please let that be true, because this camera is a flop. I hope the same thing. And I said that earlier, that I hope this is just a ploy or some type of like cat and mouse game, because right now they getting crushed. And if this is some type of plot, it is hard for me to believe that, okay, let's look at track records here, y'all. For the last 4 years, Sony has launched 1,000 cameras with the exact same codec and resolution stack. Lumix has dropped several cameras that each one they are pushing the envelope on. So even if Sony were to come out with a new sensor, they will probably still be behind what Lumix is offering right now. Lumix is offering Way more than any company. The only other company that comes close is Nikon. So whatever they drop, I mean, if you take the autofocus and the lens choices out the equation, which those are huge things, but if you take those two out the equation, whatever they drop will likely still be way behind what Lumix has offered 3 years ago. That might piss some people off. I don't see the issue with the I don't see an issue with the camera. It's just the camera at the end of the day. It's more like a knock on what Sony's doing for me. I don't understand this camera drop. It is a niche camera. They just dropped it out of nowhere, and I'm assuming they're just getting rid of inventory. I agree. As for RAW, if you use DaVinci, ProRes it is. But I also don't want to make excuses for this. Like, again, I've said this 40 times during this stream. Lack of innovation is my problem. It's the same old song. It's the same old rehoused parts. The same rehashed resolutions, codecs, all of that. It's just the same stuff over and over again. Each release, the actual features get worse. He ain't lying. I'm tired of AI this and AI that. Agreed. But I will say Sony's AI autofocus is next level. It's just a cop-out. I agree. I think a lot of these companies these days are throwing around this AI term way too loosely. Like, I don't even know if Sony's AI autofocus is really good because it does like human pose estimation. It could actually detect like where your face or your eyes are going to be if you got a helmet on and all that stuff. So I would say Sony's implementation is mad good. It is. A7C2 going strong for sure. ZVE1 still relevant. Unfortunately, mine is about to get sold. I'm not saying you need to sell yours, but mine for sure is about to get sold because of the S1 Mark II. I sound like I want this camera. I'm still picking the A7 IV over this, especially with the price point. So this is a good point. I'm curious, y'all. The S5, all these freaking numbers are throwing me off. Would you pick the A7 IV at $2,500 or the FX2 at $2,700? Okay, now I have to play advocate here, or devil's advocate. I would for sure, if somebody had to make a choice between the A7 IV and the FX2, in my opinion, there would be no reason to pick the A7 IV unless you just wanted more controls. Because the FX2 has all of this newer stuff that the A7 IV just doesn't have, and it's just not capable of. What the F? S1 II has internal RAW recording? God damn. I'm leaving Sony now. You got to do what you got to do, brother. As for the things this camera is lacking, it's simple. It ain't for a lot of us people online, but for the general consumer, it's different. That's actually not how Sony's marketing this camera. They're not marketing this camera for the general public. This was marketed towards up-and-coming filmmakers, is what they said. Now, who will actually buy it is a whole different subject, but John says A7C2 is still a better option for half the price. Or if you have the money, you just buy the FX3 or Lumix S1 Mark II. The A7C2 is still, I think it's still, let me look it up. I think the A7C2 is still $2,200. $2,200. So it's $500 cheaper and arguably just as capable. The only difference is the A7C2 will never get stuff like shutter angle. It'll never get stuff like DCI 4K, true 24p, because they want to reserve that for the Cine line, which I think is complete, I'm sorry, Sony, BS. Because if I have to bring Lumix back up and Nikon back up again. Their regular cameras have shutter angle. So the fact that Sony reserves shutter angle for the Cine line, in my opinion, is trash. All cameras should have shutter angle. Yo, yeah, ZVE1 with a CFA slot and an add-on fan is a winner. Sony definitely got something MFing in the tuck. They could. Yeah. And again, you are making my point again. This is a hard sell for me. That's at the FX2. I know it will be for some people, but when you can get a S1 Mark II for $3,200, it's got a front record button just like the FX2. It's got a fan just like the FX2. It's got dual card slots just like the FX2. Full size HDMI, not cropped, raw recording externally. Oh, raw recording internally, ProRes, Blackmagic RAW over HDMI. 6K 60, 6K 30 open gate, 5.1K 60 open gate, 70 frames per second stills, amazing roll and shutter performance. And I can keep going on and on. Shout out new sub, Gabriella. What up? It's just such a hard sell unless you are already invested in the Sony ecosystem. For me to say, hey, you know, I know you got $2,800, but just save up $400 more, bro. Save up $400 more and get a much more complete camera. This is so much more of a camera than, in my opinion, Sony will ever release. I'm going to be honest. I love the Alpha 1 Mark II, but even it still cannot offer what Lumix cameras can, besides the sensor, which is, it's a reason why Sony hasn't sold that sensor to nobody else. That Alpha 1 Mark II sensor is literally something else. But again, when it comes to codecs, features, resolutions, frame rates, you know, aspect ratios, monitoring tools, like, and the list goes on and on. They can't touch it. W Live, I appreciate that. If I'm Lumix, I'm going to cannibalize everything because I have no market share. What do I have to lose? Sony is chilling, and it seems like body innovation rather than internal. Agreed. I paused it. Relax. Tariffs, yep. I would say S9 is better. I would say S9 is a better gram in 2025. Did you mean Cam? Tariffs, bro. Tariffs. I know, but everybody's affected by tariffs. Lumix just dropped 3 new cameras with tariffs. And they didn't gimp the cameras. So the fair point, right? But we can't yell tariffs when Lumix also, you think they're not getting hit with tariffs? And they still did not drop half-baked cameras. They dropped literal heat seekers. What's your top 3 for video and light? I don't really know what you mean. What's your top 3 for video and light photography? You have to give me some more for that, bro. I don't really know. Better stills than the FX3. AI autofocus. Cheaper than used FX3. I'm in. As I said, this will be the camera for some people. And I'm not mad at you for it. And again, yo, buy the cameras that work for y'all, dog. I'm going to say it again. I don't care what camera you buy. I love all cameras. I sit here and talk about cameras because it's my freaking job. At the end of the day, I love all these cameras. I don't care what you buy. Use what makes you happy. And some of y'all, like, if you do choose to buy FX2, buy it and be happy about it. Don't let nobody say otherwise to you. Buy the camera that fits your budget with the feature set that you want, that makes you freaking happy, and the hell who don't like it. Oh, we got another super chat in the house. Thank you, bro. Let's go ahead and check this out. Hey, Terry, if you had to pick one, do you like the S1R2 over the S12? Oh, good question. First of all, thank you for the super chat. Secondly, if I had to recommend one or the other, I would say the S12 is probably the better bet, unless you want more megapixels. So that's the major trade-off right there. Also, you know, I've said in a couple of my videos that my S1R Mark II has never overheated. boy, did it give me a hard time yesterday. So I think because the S1R2 is doing more oversampling and stuff like that, it's probably more prone to overheating. But if I could only have one of them, I would choose the S12. It's just more versatile. It's got more options, more frame rates. So yeah, thank you for the super chat, dog. Rich Boy Toys. Your live stream looking like a movie pimp. Thank you, man. I love the way this looks. The only thing I might do is add a kicker, like a hair light back here. But I got like the camera shooting through the plant on the desk. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think this look fire. It's just my opinion. Sony created the best rental camera in the FX2. Lens rentals must be stoked. Hey, yeah. I think we yeah, same thing we kind of already went over. It's looking to be a great hybrid. If you're in the Sony ecosystem, sure. 27 body only. Wow. I think it is. I think it's a little overexpensive, a little overpriced if you ask me. What about FX30 users who are thinking about upgrading to the FX3? I think if they're really wanting a full frame budget cine camera in the Sony ecosystem, it makes more sense than the FX3. Why wouldn't the FX30 make more sense though? The only advantage you could say is the FX2. Well, I mean, obviously, FX30 doesn't have like AI autofocus and all that stuff. Fair enough. But I think the FX30s are great. And you could get an FX30 for what, 1700? So you could save a lot of money. And the FX30 is a fantastic freaking camera. $30.99 for a bundle. Yep. That's been what Sony's been doing, is Sony spreading themselves thin and creating user segmentation versus just having a simplified hybrid body lineup. I'm going to agree. This is the true ultimate hybrid camera, in my opinion. Until L-mount lenses selection improved, this is the move. A7 IV overheating is real. Yes, the A7 IV overheating was terrible, for sure. And again, I'm not saying that this camera won't be for some people. I just think it's a weird drop. FX30 still going strong in 2025. It ain't going nowhere. Facts. The Sony cameras shoot 6K. None of the mirrorless cameras. All of them do. Like the A7R5 and the A1 Mark II will do 8K. But no flavors of open gate, no 6K, none of that. Vinix well, cinema cameras, yeah, they do have some that shoot 6K, I believe. I'm not about to say they ran out of ideas. That's egregiously stupid. I think they did. Yeah, A1 Mark II gives you 8K. They didn't, okay, hot take. They didn't run out of ideas. It's just that they aren't in the new generation of product life cycles, and Sony has gotten convoluted. I'm going to agree with this partially. Like I said, the tech space is all about hills and crests, valleys and crests, and it's always one company leapfrogging another, and the company that got leapfrogged has to do everything they can to make another jump over the competition. So this is just Sony's leapfrog period, right? They got leapfrog. I'm sure they'll be back stronger than ever. But right now, they getting crushed. I'm going to agree here. I'm going to agree. I think it's funny how people that are so attached to Sony are trying to make it hard, trying so hard to make a valid case for outdated camera specs and a weird body that wasn't desired at all. Lumix just makes more sense. I'm sorry, I have to agree. Because Lumix dropped bangers and they got cooked. And it's like, man, Lumix cameras are almost perfect and they still got cooked. Yet the Sony, and again, I'm not saying this camera isn't for nobody, but it just seems like the energy is a little different with this camera. The problem is that Panasonic just isn't Sony. Team Sony, they'll bounce back. Agreed. And Sony ain't Panasonic either. Got to say that both ways. $4K 15, yeah. I don't know why cameras do that. Why camera? Even Lumix does 4K 15 to some of their cameras. Like whoever asked for that? You are right. People dogged the crap out of the S1R2, but now it's the FX2. It's not that bad. X, Y, and Z. I gotta agree. We got another super chat, y'all. Hold up. My guy Brad Fogel. What up? Wish my FX30 had the FX2 EVF shutter and AI autofocus chip. Agreed. They need to come out with an FX3A with these updates. I'm sorry, FX30A with these updates. Thank you so much for the super chat, bro. I really appreciate it. So many comments, bro. Forgot we was at. Man, I got to get better with getting through these comments faster, bro. For the way people constantly compare Lumix to Sony and not the Canon or Nikon is funny. I compare Lumix to Nikon and Sony. And the reason Canon is not a big part of the conversation is because they never drop anything. The R5 Mark II was dope. And they just dropped like a little consumer camera, but they just haven't made enough noise. They haven't come out with that many lenses, that many cameras. So when you compare them to Lumix and Nikon and Sony, who are just constantly dropping all the time, it's like, you know, they just haven't been a big part of the conversation. Yeah, this is a good point right here. I currently have an A7 IV looking for a second cam. Was torn between FX30 and ZV-E1. Now this FX2 release is a possibility. I mean, I guess if you got an A7 IV for concurrency, you got the exact same freaking frame rates and resolutions, so you know what to expect out of it already. And I'm not saying that the A7 IV is a bad camera, because it's not. So if it's the camera for you, it's the camera for you. The Z8 makes all these discussions moot. Almost. The Z8 is a freaking powerhouse, but the problem, when you compare it against Lumix cameras, lack of anamorphic support, lack of open gate. Those two things alone, and then when you add in Lumix Lab, those three things are what make me still give the nod to Lumix cameras. Nikon cameras are crazy powerful. That Z8 is a monster. But again, Lumix Lab, which cannot be understated. A lot of y'all have not used Lumix Lab, dog. Like when it comes to being a creative, being able to put 39 freaking LUTs in the camera that can be applied to stills also. So Sony with the FX2 just announced S-Log stills, right? But they're not full resolution 33 megapixel files. They're only 8 megapixel files. And they're an S-Log 3. However, there's no way to color grade them in camera, meaning put a creative LUT on them in camera and send a full resolution file from the camera with the LUT already applied. So you still have to go color grade the S-Log 3 image, which I guess if you're trying to color match a S-Log 3 video is fire, but Lumix lets you put 39 LUTs in the camera that can be applied to full resolution S-Log 3 photos and video. Not only can you put 39 LUTs in the camera, you can download new ones right from the app and transfer them right to the camera. You can tweak LUTs right in the Lumix Lab app and export them and download them to your camera or send them to your friends, or, you know, all of them things you could do with Lumix Lab. Lumix Lab is a feature, in my opinion, worth a couple $100 by itself. So you got that. Then the fact that Nikon cameras don't offer open gate and the lack of anamorphic support are what make them a new sub. Pursuit Perfect System. What up? I just feel like Lumix cameras still have the advantage. That's crazy. I never thought I'd see the day people would complain about Sony not innovating when they're the same people buying the same iPhone year after year. I can agree with that. Apple ain't been innovating ever either. I still got the iPhone 15 Pro. I didn't upgrade to the 16. You want to know why? Lack of innovation. Now, when the 17 comes out with radically different body changes and it's way slimmer, yeah, I'm going to upgrade. But I didn't see a reason to upgrade from the 15 to the 16 because lack of innovation. Why couldn't they have just made an FX2 with the full frame version of FX30 with 26 megapixels that does 4K 120 FPS? They don't have a sensor like that. And that's what I was saying. Like, this is why I think they had excess sensors, because if you wanted a middle tier cinema camera between FX30 and FX3, I would have thought that they would have developed a new sensor for it, but they didn't. They took the same sensor. That was an A7 IV from 3.5 years ago. Didn't do anything to it, but tweaked the color science a little bit and slapped it in a new camera body. Terry's my favorite streamer. Man, I appreciate that so much. That's because you streaming, and I mean, that's because you listening in surround sound, bro. My audio solution is not the best. This is a DJI mic mini inside of a 3D printed mic, original Dobo made. I thought the exact same thing when I watched Gerald Undone's review. Yeah, I feel like he gave this camera way too much credit. And that's my dog. Gerald is one of my close friends. So this is no shade on him, but we call spades around here. I feel like Gerald went way too soft on the FX2. For real. Pause. First of all, pause. Whoa. Whoa. But I think Gerald went way too soft on this camera. That's just my opinion. Some may disagree. Like, y'all damn right, the S1R2 is outclassing the FX3 in certain areas. It came out 5 years later. You'd all be singing a different tune had the S1R Mark II not been up to snuff. Okay, here's a great point, and I'm going to bring this up because a lot of people brought this up on threads and stuff like that. Why are you guys comparing the new S1R2 to the Sony FX3? Okay, we all realize that the Sony FX3 is old. However, guess what? Sony hasn't released anything new for us to compare to. So unfortunately, the only thing we have to compare to is what Sony is currently offering, which is old. That's not our problem. When Sony comes out with something new, then guess what'll happen? We'll compare Sony's new offering to everybody's old offering because they'll have the newest. Over 100 people watching, only 27 likes. Hit that like for Terry's shirt to get tired. Thank you, John. Yeah, man, y'all tripping. Hit the like button. Might be good for wildlife. It will be. What's the latest? The Lumix S1 Mark II, S1R Mark II, S12E. When live streaming, why do you need to listen to yourself? I don't. I typically don't. But it is helpful because sometimes during streaming, you get audio dropouts. Microphone might die. This might stop working. And sometimes you wouldn't know that unless you could hear yourself. A7 IV will have 4K 60 uncropped, and that's it. I wouldn't be surprised if Sony dropped the A7 V still with a 4K 60 crop. This ain't a money grab. It's a jab before the haymaker. I don't know, man. I hope. But I don't know. Oh, we got another super chat that I didn't see. Josh Payne, thank you so much, bro. I appreciate you. Super chat from $9.99. Y'all are really being generous today. Thank you so much. Serious question. I'm using the ZVE1, which mine is right here, for talking head and family content, but want to get into real estate photo and video. Should I upgrade to the S12 or go another route? Sony has lost my interest. So, Sony's I mean, they have cameras that are capable of it. The A7R5 is floating around here. It's very capable. It's a great stills camera. And for talking head, all of these cameras are way more than good enough. The S1 Mark II is a fantastic freaking photo camera, but it's only 24 megapixels. So you'd have to, think about your own use cases. 24 megapixels enough. Now, what were they doing before we had 24 megapixel cameras? They was making it work with 12 and 18. You know what I'm saying? 24 megapixels, in my opinion, is more than enough. But if it's somebody who's going to do like a lot of cropping and post, then, there is another thing that the S1 II offers is the high resolution mode where it'll blend like a bunch of photos together and give you like a 96 megapixel photo. So there's that. But Sony, if you want to stay with the Sony ecosystem, if you have lenses, they have options. Like the A7R5 is a solid option. It's just a slow sensor. And again, same old song with what you get in every Sony camera. But I'm not saying that deems the camera incapable, because it doesn't. Sony cameras are still mad capable. Like if you handed me a Sony camera right now, like I would be like, okay, it's still way more than good enough. Again, y'all, we are literally sitting here splitting freaking hairs. That's what we're doing. We're splitting. The reality is the cheapest full frame camera out there these days is way more than enough to get the job done. We're just sitting here being snobs. Okay, but that's what we do. Another super chat just came in. Yo, shout out to Aaron Benson. Thank you so much, bro. $4.99. I'll get you a comment in 1 second. But if you want to stay with Sony, then maybe check out the A7R5. I think that's the best middle ground hybrid camera that they have. I mean, this FX2 could be a thing, right? It's got the same 33 megapixel sensor out the A7 IV, which is great for stills. And the A7 IV has one of the best looking video images out there because it's oversampled from 7K. So, I mean, this could be a thing for you. Like the FX2 could be the camera for you if you wanted to stay in the Sony ecosystem. However, if you're willing to venture outside the ecosystem where, in my opinion, the tea is a little sweeter over there, that S1 II from Lumix is no joke. This bad boy right here, this is a Scud missile. A complete, let me focus in on it real quick. This bad boy right here, complete Scud missile, you hear me? Now I got to get myself back in focus. Reality of the situation is Lumix aren't up there with the other top 3 brands, so they have to give you the bells and whistles with every. This is true. They've been the underdogs, but they ain't the underdogs no more. Yes, they are loading the cameras up. I don't think it's because they have to give you the bells and whistles. They're out to make a statement in the industry that, cameras can give you, camera brands can give you the bells and whistles if they want to without compromise, if they want to. Here's the thing. Lumix could launch cameras with half the features that they have, and they would still have more features than every Sony camera. That's what you're not getting. Lumix, I'm going to say this again, could nix half the stuff that they offer in their cameras, and there would still be more left over after taking out half the stuff that Sony would ever give you in a regular mirrorless alpha camera, period. So I think what Lumix is trying to do is make a statement to say, hey, like, we're not going to gatekeep. We're not going to try to funnel you into a higher model to get things like shutter angle or open gate or waveforms or false color. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're saying, like, yo, we're going to give you everything. And maybe this is part of the strategy for them to grow. Who knows? But historically, even going back to the GH2, GH3, their cameras have always had shutter angle and vector scopes and the ability to put more than one monitoring tool on the screen, and anamorphic D-squeeze support, like all these things. Another super chat. Let's hit these real quick. Man, I appreciate y'all so much being so generous. Y'all ain't got to do this, man. Aaron Benson said, have you spoken to Lumix about releasing a fast telephoto prime lens like a 300 or a 400 f2.8? We've all been very vocal with Lumix that, bro, y'all need more lenses. That is where Sony is crushing it at. Sony has so many freaking options from third parties, you know what I'm saying, from native. You need more options. And yes, there's the L Mount Alliance that's slowly growing because you got Sigma and Leica and all that stuff in it. But Sony still holds the cake with lenses. So yes, we've told them 1,000 times, like, yo, bro, y'all need more lenses, and hopefully they'll get it to us soon. Thank you so much for the super chat, bro. I really appreciate how generous y'all are being today. Thank you. And then a super chat from Joshua Payne. Don't you dare recommend that FX2 to me. I'm ready to jump off Sony shit, man. Hey, bro. S12 is where it's at, dog. I'm not going to lie to you. This camera, this thing right here, bro. Let me get that in your face. Let me show you the sensor on that bad boy real quick. This camera right here is where it's at, y'all. I'm sorry. It's just hard for me to recommend anything else right now over the S1 Mark II. It's such a complete camera. Man, I'm a little behind. I'm sorry. There's just so many comments, bro. All right, I think this is where we was at. Yeah, it's so hard to see Sony trailing, specifically knowing that Sony's side hustle for it is the production of the sensors. They sell the camera. They sell the sensors to everybody. And what's so crazy about Sony is they make the sensors, but the same sensors that they make, they don't push them. Example, the Lumix S1 Mark II has the same sensor as the Sony A7 IV. The most that the Sony A7 IV could do is 4K 30. Lumix got 6K 30 out that thing in OpenGate with way more. Don't forget about OpenGate. Yep, talked about that. I thought the S1, okay, let's talk about the S1 Mark IIe. The S1 Mark IIe has all of the features of the new S1 Mark II cameras. Am I slightly out of focus? I might be. But it's still using the S5 II sensor, which is not necessarily a bad thing. The S5 II sensor has one of the best signal to noise ratios out there. It's really good. But you get all of these upgrades. You get RE-Log C. You get all the new freaking 2:3:5:1 aspect ratios, OpenGate, false color, Lumix flow, RE-Log C3, already said that, and way more. Another super chat. Sheesh. After this release, I think there's a compelling argument to recommend the Lumix S1 Mark II. That's the thing that I said. I'm about to get to that super chat in 1 second. I said that first when the stream started. So, in the title, I said that the FX2 might be DOA on launch because of the Lumix S1 Mark IIe. It's $2,500, and it gives you way more than the FX2 can give you, and more. The only caveat being 24 megapixels. But as long as you can live with a few less megapixels, you are getting a way more complete camera for less money. Let's hit the super chat real quick. Another one. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate y'all generosity. From Zach. Man, I hate when this happens, right? All right, Zach Kincaid. I use the A7S3 to run a real estate production company. I would switch to Lumix for 60 FPS OpenGate alone, but not having a 1635 f2.8 keeps me hesitant. Agreed, bro. I agree. Lumix needs lenses. They are coming out with more lenses for sure, but they definitely need more. And unfortunately, there's no easy way to adapt like Sony glass to Lumix cameras. But thank you so much for the super chat, my man. All right, y'all wilding out. Another super chat just came in. Screen Fiends, what up? The tone shift in Gerald's review compared to his S1 Mark II review is so stark. Agreed. Excuse me. And thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate your generosity. Thank you. But yeah, I think that S1 Mark II-E is the camera that has kind of made the FX2 DOA. It's cheaper. You get more. For sure. So yeah, the S5 II right now, you can actually grab for a crazy deal. You could get an S5 II right now for like 16 or 1700 bucks. Do you lose the advantage of tilting the EVF with the DJI Mic 2 as it plugs directly into Sony's hot shoe? Yep. What's the best Lumix camera? I would say S1 Mark II. Sony has to get rid of all those extra parts they had lying around. That's what I think. I think Sony wants to get this attention, to get the attention by dropping this and then hit us with that FX3 Mark II. Could be. This is a good camera that has less features than the competition at a higher price. Not a good look Sony. I'm gonna agree. I think it's a decent camera. Like if it's for you, right? I think it's a decent camera for some people out there. But it's just like the competition makes this camera like DOA. It doesn't make it not capable. It just makes it like I could never recommend this over the competitors. A7 V is predicted to launch in August with a rumored 38 or 42 megapixel sensor that can shoot oversample 6K footage at 4K up to 120 FPS at OpenGate 6K. This could be their ace. We'll see. FX3 Mark II might cost $4,500. That's a lot compared to what Lumix offers at their price. Agreed. Agree. FX30 looking like a good B cam today. Sony L. That FX30 is still one of the best value cameras out there. Love the FX30. Yep, I think I read some of these comments already. Yo, what's going on? Giovanni, how you doing, man? I'm probably way behind. Only thing the FX2, I just tuned in. I have to look this up. So basically, simply pops, just to let you know, big dog, they just released another A7 IV and an FX body with AI stuff added in. That's basically it. The body's a little different. It's got an EVF, but it's largely the same camera. I'm of the same boat that this doesn't need to do well as a means to teach them a lesson of giving us an old product and a rehoused body. Yeah, it's a rinse and repeat process. Yep. It's just not just dumping the sensor. They may want to test the EVF implementation on a less risky bet. That could be a thing. I could agree with that. For sure, that could be a thing. Pricing for this camera is so off. $31.99 for FX2 after tax in Germany versus $32.99 for a discounted C70 or $34.99 for S1 Mark II. I think that's Canadian or European, I'm sorry. But yes, I think this camera is priced way too high. Even at $2,700, I still think it's too high. Lumix cooking hard this year. Matt, what up? S1 Mark II-E is the FX2 killer. Yes. S1 Mark II is the FX3 killer. Absolutely. And for you people that'll say, oh, Sony hasn't dropped the camera in years, that's their fault. The torch has been passed. Maybe when they drop the next round of cameras, the torch will get passed back. But for now, they haven't dropped nothing. Yep, this is a good point. FX2 has the AI autofocus chip. A7 IV doesn't. This really does feel like a stopgap. Definitely think this is the clear out sensor inventory. I'm going to agree with that. I think that's true. Lazy R&D, recycled trash, Sony disappointment coming from a Sony shooter. I think this release is kind of disappointing, for sure. Not kinda, it is. I don't see the point of marketing that. Well, okay, let me read this. I don't see the point of marketing outdated sensor just to get rid of it. They tried to give it a nice package, but the customers aren't clueless. Agreed. Not to mention, they spend more money to create and market this camera. Yep. When was the last revolutionary camera that Sony has dropped since the A7 III? I would say FX. I would say the A7S III. And from the A7S III spawned 3 other cameras. Real Lumix fans know better. No, just know. I'm getting so tongue-tied. But the real Lumix fans know just better their cameras are versus a lot of the other cameras out there. I get your point. Then I just hear someone comment, what the FX is Sony doing? That's funny. My biggest is that it seems the FX2 doesn't have anything new for recorded options over the A7 IV. All that cooling and no new capabilities. That's been our whole point, Brad. Lack of innovation. Charge more money, innovate less. Let's just take all the spare parts we got laying around and slap it in the new camera and don't offer anything really more. Yep. Hey, Terry, hope you're doing good. Am I crazy for selling my C500 and going with the S12? You are crazy. However, if the C500 is not fitting your workflow, then get rid of it. The S12 is a fantastic camera, but you talk of 2 different classes of cameras. You're talking a full cinema camera versus a hybrid mirrorless camera. There will be trade-offs, sir. Thank you. Shutter angle and open gate should be standard. The fact that we now have another Sony camera, I mean, it has shutter angles without open gate, though. It's crazy. And yes, at this time in the century, he is correct. How are the lenses for Lumix? They need more. They have some. The ones they do have are great. Sigma makes a lot of lenses for them, and they have a lot of new lenses coming, but, you know. WTF is Sony thinking? My thoughts exactly. Aaron Benson is the only reason why I'm thinking about building a Lumix kit and seeing this FX2 come out and still not even being close in the conversation. It's like, okay, maybe it's time. Can't be mad at that. The rolling shutter is good in 4K 60. Yes, if you're willing to accept a 1.5 times crop. It's closer to 14 milliseconds, not 12. 4K 24, yeah, you up in like the 25 to 26 millisecond rolling shutter area. The truth is, we don't need many of the features on the new cameras. Most people haven't maxed their current cameras to the limit yet. You're right, absolutely, but they show is good to have, brother. Yep. Yep, same thing with Apple. And it's like Samsung also. What do you think they need to release in the FX3 Mark II? I see very difficult to see features like Lumix, probably triple base ISO and internal NDs. I don't know. It's like at this point, they got to do something. They got to do something. Oh, so Cam wants to join in. So we about to bring Cam Mackey on. So let me go ahead and send him a link. Hold on. All right, let me throw Cam Mackey a link real quick. Hold up. All right, so Cam Mackey is about to join in. Let's all welcome Cam. Drop W's in the chat for Cam Mackey. He will be here in about 2 minutes. And this is why we wear headphones. I'm going to jump to some of these recent comments because there's way too many for me to get through. And again, Cam Mackey is on his way. I just sent him the link, so he'll be joining in soon. FX2 was made for photographers and streamers. Late to the party. What's up? What's up, Kyle? Kind of like the camera. It's just way overpriced. It would have been a cracking entry point at 1,500 to 2,000. I'm gonna agree. FX2 was dead before it was even born. I'm gonna agree. Hey, I have to agree. The S1 Mark II for sports is wild. 70 FPS, full tracking and autofocus. Bruh. 12-bit RAW. You could drop down to 60 FPS to get 14-bit RAW. Oh, B. Wash and Gerald Live 2, War Crime. Kofi was here. Oh, Reza's here. Reza's here. Yeah, Reza, you ain't gonna like this. Imagine if Terry was filming his live stream on the FX2. Yeah, this is actually the Pixis. Saudi Arabia in the house. One more thing about the differences between the S1 II and FX Mark II is the IBIS. Absolutely, y'all. Lumix kills it with... Okay, this is a great point. So, Sony just dropped the FX2, and it has dynamic active stabilization, but it still costs 30%. It's a 30% crop. Lumix has the same level of stabilization without the crop. And if you use a Lumix lens, you could go cropless. What happened to the 32-bit? What happened to the 32-bit audio FX2 rumor? Wasn't true. Somebody said FX2 late. Hilarious. What's your thoughts on the Pixis 12K? I wish I could get one. I'm using a Pixis 6K right now. Am I correct that the FX2 mechanical shutter is less capable than the A7 IV? That's the Sony cripple screw. Yes, sir, it is. So your max flash speed or flash sync speed with the FX2 will be 1/160th of a second instead of the typical 1/250th of a second because it's only first curtain. Why does it keep doing this? Lumix stabilization has flickering and wobbling issues just like most of the competition. Yeah, it's not perfect, but it's for sure still better than everybody else's. I have an A7 IV. I use it for photo and video. The plan was to buy the FX3 or FX3 II to have two bodies. Getting the S1 II is a better option, better than the FX3 and can take good photos. Yeah, I agree. All right, we got Cam joining. Let me get him set up real quick. What up, Scam Mackie? Cam is in the green room. All right, let me see. Hold on one second. Yo, what up, Cam? Can we hear Cam? Cam, can you hear me? All right, hold up. We got to get Cam's audio together. All right, Cam, can you confirm if you can hear us or not? I can't hear your mic.
Can you hear me
Team
now?
6 in the house. Go ahead, Cam. I just heard you say something.
Well, I guess I'll have to use my MacBook audio. Chat, does this sound fine?
I can hear you now.
Does this sound fine?
Yeah, sound good to me. What up, Cam Mackey? Scam Mackey.
I'm gonna plug my wireless mic directly in. I got some things to say.
Let's hear it, bro. Let's hear it, bro. So somebody asked, where was Shield Team 6 at? Here we are.
We here. Check, check, check. Okay. Hopefully that sounds cleaner, yeah?
Damn, why don't you yell in my ear?
Sorry. I
No,
turned
you
it down
good.
a little bit.
You good. So
Uh
what you think about
yeah,
this FX2, man?
I think it's gonna be great for some people, but I think for most people, it's a miss. Uh do you guys remember like when Canon, Sony, Fuji, everybody, not Nikon, everybody else was coming out with some like mirrorless fire, like just groundbreaking cameras, and everybody was like, yo, Canon, what are you doing? They came out with the R, and then they had that for like what, years. And
Hmm.
everybody was like, when are they coming out with something dope? And then come to find out, they were trying to get more sensors out, because before they could start selling new sensors, they have to get rid of all the older surplus of sensors that they have. So I feel like that's maybe what Sony's doing right now, because obviously they keep making new cameras with the same sensors, which is cool. Um, and then obviously the elephant in the room is, everybody's using Sony sensors. All these Lumix cameras are using Sony sensors. All these Nikon sensors are probably Sony sensors. So, how come Sony's not using it themselves? So I think that's all. I think that could be the only answer, which is fine. They're a business. They got to do what they got to do. But in the meantime, people want the latest and greatest right now. So I think people are going to start switching over. But everybody needs to remember, right now, Lumix has the best camera out right now, in my opinion. But a year from now, Nikon can have the best camera. Sony can have the best camera. So you need to, I think we're learning that each company, they respect certain features and disrespect other features. I think Lumix is the only company that's giving us all the features that we all scream and beg for, and they're all there. They've been there. And now we have newer sensors in the newer cameras that are now keeping up and outrunning a lot of the cameras that are out right now. Sony, obviously, they want to protect their Cine line, which is fair. But while doing so, the rest of us get left behind on features. So I don't think Sony will ever do open gate. I hope I'm wrong. I will love to admit that I'm wrong, but I don't think they're ever going to give us. The Burano still doesn't have open gate. That's what, $30,000 camera, something like that.
Yes, sir.
So, so obviously Sony, they make great stuff. They're innovative, but they need a line to protect, and that's their Cine line. So that's already out the door. Nikon is obviously playing catch up, and they have amazing cameras. Terry and I both love the Z8. Z6 III I did originally love, but after using it more, it is kind of noisy. The Z8 though is a stunning, powerful camera, but it has a fraction of the features that Lumix has, and not just features of like, oh, this has features that I'm never going to use. It's like actual features that we actually use and need as filmmakers, tube douchers, pro, whatever, like across the board. These are features that we actually need. So I think Nikon wants to do that, but obviously it's a lot of catch up because Lumix has been doing that for a minute now. Um, so I think that's what, I don't know. I think that's what it comes down to. So for me, obviously Terry and I are shills and we get free stuff all the time now. But if I had to spend my own money, S1R2 would be the first camera I would buy. But I am starting to experience more overheating issues with that. So we trust us, guys. We are hounding Lumix of like, yo, you guys need to fix this ASAP, because
Hmm.
we didn't know that was an issue originally. And then S1 II, obviously, as a hybrid camera, would be my go-to buy right now. And knowing that Lumix actually cares, actually listens, and they're not trying to protect other cameras, it's a win for us. And so if it was me, that'd kind of be what I would invest my money into these days.
I said this a little earlier before you got on. Like, somebody said Lumix is only doing all of this because they're the underdogs. So what?
Yeah.
Even
Yeah,
before
who would
though.
have a problem with that?
Yeah, exactly. Like, who cares? Like, at the end of the day, as end consumers, whether they're the underdogs or not, I think they're trying to send a message that we're willing to give you everything that you want without gatekeeping it and protecting our higher lines and forcing you into a funnel to buy more expensive stuff. We're just gonna give it to you now.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody also said, okay, let me step back. I also said the same thing you said. The tech space is a game of leapfrogs. Like, it's just a leapfrog. Sony
Yep.
was ahead for a while. They got leapfrogged. So we would be silly to think that Lumix would never get leapfrogged. They will eventually. And eventually it'll be Sony or Nikon or Canon. This is the game we play, y'all. But at this point, Lumix is ahead. And at this point, with the FX2 drop, it's like, damn, like knowing what Lumix is dropping, this is what you thought would be a good idea. Not even so. What's making me more mad is just the fact that there's nothing more. There's nothing more.
Yeah.
If Lumix would have got a hold of this 33 megapixel sensor, dog, they would have squeezed 8K out of it, the kitchen sink, a coffee pot, you know, 10K, 120. Like, so it's just sad to see them take the same sensor that clearly is probably underutilized, underpowered, and not crank the sensor up to the max for a new camera 4 years later.
Yep.
When
I think they're. I think
S1 II dropping, S1R Mark II dropping, et cetera, et cetera.
Sony knows they're top dog, and this is the issue though: is when you're on top and you know you don't have to push innovation, and that you could just keep recycling things. You know, this is what happened with Canon. They thought they were top dogs, and now obviously, if you know, our aunts and uncles and parents and cousins and shit who aren't in this game, they go to Best Buy and they see Canon, they see the legacy brand recognition off of that. If Canon didn't have that, they'd be in the hole right now for sure, like for sure. So yeah, I don't know. Again, we all know Sony probably has crazy shit lined up to like pop off. Just we don't know if it's gonna be this year or next year. We don't know. But obviously, you know, they're gonna come out with some fire stuff eventually. But what's annoying, it's like, you know, give it to us now. It's been what, 3 to 4 years since they've released their last, you know, legacy of lineup. So I don't know. Again, this is why I love Lumix. Yeah, because they are the underdog. They have to give us more. They have to try harder. And so they're constantly pushing on whether it's older sensor or newer sensor. They're trying to figure out how they can win more of the marketplace, which is great for us. Competition's great.
And I think they care about. Listen, I'm not trying to say Sony doesn't care about us, but I could also only call black and white, right? It seems like out of all the major camera brands right now, that Lumix seems to care the most. And that's not to say that other camera brands don't care. It just says that I feel like, personally, Lumix cares the most. I'm going to give you reasons why. We give Sony feedback all the time. Every condo, every camera camp, we sit in focus groups and meetings, and we give them feedback. And sometimes it's, I guess, received, but very rarely do we actually see it come into fruition. We give them the feedback, and it's like either it's funneled somewhere or they're like, oh, that wasn't good feedback. But we constantly give Lumix feedback. And guess what we constantly see from Lumix? Results from our feedback. Even like Cam just said, and I don't want to turn this into like a Lumix stream, but okay, me and him have had some complications with the S1R2, more so Cam, with overheating lately, which I didn't have up until yesterday. But we communicated this to them, and guess what? The immediate response was, we are looking into it. This is our top priority. So it's just things like that, you know, they're giving you everything. They're giving you all the features. I even said this earlier. If Lumix were to cut out half the features that they're giving us right now, it would still be more than any Sony camera would offer us. And that's not a knock on Sony. It's just a testament to how much like Lumix is doing right now. It's wild. And it makes, unless you don't want to leave Sony, the FX2 a hard-ass sell. It's a hard sell. Again, there will be people who the camera is for. There will always be a audience for every camera that drops. May not be me or you, but for sure, and we've seen it in this chat, there's several people who were like, oh, FX2, that's a good option for me. Fine, go buy it. You should go buy it if it's a good option for you. But if you're not married to Sony, it's hard for me to recommend this camera. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I know, you know, from the outside looking in, people think we just, you know, are fighting for one brand because we're going to get paid or some shit. It's like, no, we have access to all brands. And if a brand wants to cut us off because we're being honest, they know better. Most of them know better. And they won't do that unless we say something really rank or something, you know, then obviously that's in their right to do so. But they're fully aware, guys. Like, these brands aren't dumb. So yeah, I really do think this was just a release to get rid of some more sensors. And yeah, I don't know how long it's gonna take them though to release some dope stuff.
So look, Brad Fogel just said Sony themselves knew this wasn't a special camera. No camera cam or condo was associated with this launch. That is a crazy take.
Yep.
That is a crazy take. Because for every single camera release up to this point, there's always an event attached to it. Wow.
Yeah. That's
wow. True. Hey, spades are spades. We got to call them.
Yep.
Why,
guys?
Why wasn't there a release for it?
I mean, even, I don't want to disclose too much, but I had my embargo meeting with them. It was like 2 or 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago or something like that now. You know, I wasn't interested in trying it out because it's not for me. I understand there might be some people out there that would love to see more people talk about it. But even during the meeting, you know, you could tell, I won't say who was in it, but you can tell that some of us were just like, okay, this is kind of weird, but cool. So, yeah, I don't know. Again, Sony knows what they're doing, guys. If you feel the need to like go out and hate on them and stuff, go ahead, but just realize you're just gonna be wrong in 6 to 12 months when they release something crazy. But us discussing this openly, hopefully this puts pressure on the Sony to give us more of those features that we want. And hopefully, you know, if Sony was thinking, oh, we can just release anything, people are gonna buy it, you know, they could have that mindset. And hopefully this camera will be proof of like, no, you got more competition to deal with now. You guys better, you know, pick it up. So that's all this is.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, y'all, again, we are literally freaking splitting hairs. We're arguing over literal high-powered pocket rockets that we couldn't imagine having 10 years ago at this
pocket
price.
Rockets?
Pocket, yeah. You know, I'm black. You gotta say how it is. But we have cameras that can shoot 10-bit and 4K and 6K and 8K and open gate and all this other stuff. Like, we do sometimes need to step back. Like, yo, we really got it real good. And we're literally just sitting here arguing like snobs over these technological marvels, even the worst of them.
Yeah. I mean, not to keep bringing up Lumix, but literally this one too, I've been saying this to all the guys, it has all the bare minimum things that we've been screaming for, like 60 FPS, full frame, open gate, full on LUT support for monitoring or to bake it in, stills LUT support, waveforms, false color, all the like full on anamorphic support. I think I said that already, right? Crazy IBIS. It literally does everything that we need and nothing more. It doesn't get fancy. It's not doing crazy 240 frames per second, all this other bullshit that all the tech heads constantly crying for. And so even if Sony was to release a camera that was just as good or even twice as good, I'm not going to get excited about it personally anymore, just because it's like, I have the bare minimum of what I need now. Like, it does literally everything I need. And so the fact that Lumix is the first to release that type of release, now I'm just like, well, like now I'm just going to go dump some money into L mount lenses, and this is going to be my system for a while now. Like, I don't know what, the only thing that Sony can release now.
I was about to ask you that.
Well, if it was the FX3 body and it did everything that the S1 II did, which immediately we know is they're not going to do that. They're not going to have all this anamorphic IBIS and D-stretch and monitoring tools and all of that. They're not going to put that into it. Even if it had internal NDs with IBIS, that's still not enough for me to be like, oh, I'm going to run out and go get this. Because they're not going to have all those little tiny features that when you pile them up onto a commercial shoot, a fun shoot, content creation, once you go back to trying to use those cameras, you realize, oh, those things are important. And those things literally enable me to be a filmmaker, to be a shield tuber with less. I need less shit that I have to add to it. I need less things I need to bring because it just does everything. So,
Hey, Doc Rock, what up?
hey,
Doc
Doc.
said there will not be broke vlog tubers and skinfluencers. That's a new one. Who will buy this on spec and not care about all of the camera tuber hot takes. They just want aesthetic cinematic vibes for their millions of subs. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
I'm sure people who aren't involved in our community are going to pick up this camera because it looks like the FX3 and it's cheaper. That's all a lot of people are going to see. They're like, oh, it's a cinema camera.
yep.
When we all know, the FX3 and 2 and 30, they're not cinema cameras. Like there's the fact that S1 2 has more cinema features than the FX3 and FX30, now
That's crazy.
FX2.
But you just made a point though. So we could sit here and argue over this camera, but we're really not the target demographic. I guarantee you, and I say this all the time. Every Sony camera drop, we be like, man, nobody gonna buy this.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody gonna buy this stupid vlog camera. Nobody gonna buy this, and every time we're wrong. And it's because when they market these cameras, like we think that they're marketed towards us and at us, when in reality, they're not. Like the ZV-E10, we all trashed it, right? It is the best-selling Sony camera of all time. So we can sit here and argue about this, but the reality is, as much as us super freaking nerdy camera snobs and our 19 cameras and our, freaking dynamic range arguments and all that, they're still going to sell loads of these bad boys.
Yeah.
Loads of them.
Yeah. And we ain't got nothing wrong with that, guys. Like, I think people get confused. Obviously, we're not shitting on the FX2, but we're just being real. Like, it's kind of a dud release.
Yeah.
Like we don't. I know I don't care, and I know Terry don't care. I'm gonna drop an F-bomb. We don't give a fuck if you buy it or not.
Yeah.
We're just more putting pressure of like, Sony, we know you could do better than this. What are you doing? Like, no one asked for this. Everybody would have been just fine just going with the FX30. But again, we know people are going to buy this shit up still, which is fine. But again, I wish Sony would do like giant firmware updates or something and be like, hey, we just add all these cinema features to the FX3.
Something.
Yeah.
Something. And that is my argument.
Recycling
Like,
old sensors.
Even if you're gonna recycle the old stuff, maximize it. Like, make me feel like I'm getting more out of it. But instead, and this is where my argument comes in, and again, I've said this 10 times during the stream, I don't care if you buy this camera or not. I could care less if you buy it. I could care less if you buy any of these cameras, to be honest with you. You can, like, seriously, I don't care. But I at least want to feel like they are trying to give me more for my money. Like, okay, the A7 IV, we saw this, these aspects, these frame rates, these resolutions. Just if this is going to be a cinema camera, give me more. Like, give me more.
Yeah.
And that's where my argument is, but it's the same old stack of codecs and resolutions from every single camera that they've dropped for the last 4 years. We don't even get freaking 4K 30 and H.265. Still, even in the new FX2, with the latest and greatest, we still don't have 4K 30 and H.265. So it's just stuff like this, man. Like, just give us some more. We would have been fine. Like, again, this is not the camera for me, but I wouldn't be, I guess, so hard on it if I feel like, pause, whoa, pause. Jeez. I would be so, oh, God. Oh, man.
You guys see what happens when your t-shirts start getting too tight? It just starts coming out of you.
Whoa, pause. See, that's a pause moment too. This is getting wild. I wouldn't be so, I guess, I don't even know if I'm being critical. I just wish they would have gave us more. When you see other companies willing and again, I said this earlier. Okay, Sony, maybe they have this idea that we took the mirrorless camera to here. Like the mirrorless camera was here, and we brought it up here, which they did. Sony pushed the mirrorless industry to where it is right now, and we will always give them praise for that. But once we're back here and everything's equal, where you got us doesn't matter anymore. Now you're staying here, and everybody else is up here, and you're not doing anything about it. And this is how you get left. This is how people start leaving. This is how you lose customers when you stop innovating. And I feel like that is the point Sony's at. And maybe, again, they're playing cat and mouse. Maybe they got that big, that heat seeker in the bag that they just waiting to drop. And I hope that. I think we all hope that. But right now, it's looking like, this drop today don't have me confident at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be the hard part is I kind of wish camera companies would start doing announcements on like developments and release days and release times, being like, oh, this fall we're going to release this, because that would just that would shut down a lot of the leakers, but two, that would also inform people of like, oh, Lumix just released this, but I know Sony's going to release that, and there might be this and that feature, so I'm going to save my money. But instead, we have to, and the leakers are wrong about half the shit, and they hype up the wrong stuff that ends up being totally wrong, which ruins the release, not just from like a creator's avenue, but just misleading people, not giving them accurate details and stuff. So I kind of wish brands would just do this, because then people could know, like, oh, should I dump all of my lenses right now to switch over to this other system that has the best camera right now? So I don't know. This
Also, though,
release
people,
is,
let me throw this out there. Just because there's a shiny new camera doesn't mean you need to switch. Like, a new camera coming out does not automatically make yours no longer capable. So don't feel like you need to, because Lumix is all the rage right now, sell your whole kit and switch over. I'm sure you're probably not even using what you have right now to its maximum potential. I'm not saying if you want to, that you shouldn't. If you have the money, that you shouldn't. But don't feel like it's required, because guess what's going to happen? Sony's going to release a banger camera at some point, and you're going to be looking like, man, should have never left Sony, or should have never left Nikon, whatever the case may be. So don't feel like you freaking need to. Monk Larry says, how are you going to misconstrue my comment while live? I stated the reality of the market. They had to give bells and whistles to make their cameras attractive for people to buy and jump ship to. How do we misconstrue it? We're in agreement.
You just said it.
Yeah, we're in agreement. But I did say maybe it's a mix of Lumix's underdog, but even before they were quote unquote underdog, even going back to the GH2, they still gave us all this stuff, even on their old cameras. So I don't know if it's a matter of, hey, we're underdogs and we need to give you this stuff to be competitive, or if it's also, hey, this is just our brand mantra. We just want to give you as much tools as possible for the money.
Mm-hmm.
So we weren't trying to like discredit or disprove what you were saying. Bro, we're in agreement. Relax. You got your panties all in a bunch.
Monk Larry probably rooted for, what's his name? Rocky to lose.
Oh, God.
Huh, Monk? Monk Larry. You don't like Rocky, huh? You want him to lose, huh?
All right. I love Lumix. They put everything in the cameras they sell at a reasonable price. Sony does have higher end options, but most of us can't make enough money with these cameras to justify the cost. Here's the other thing with this. Even the most expensive option, the Alpha 1 Mark II, the Alpha 9 III, for what they are, they're fantastic. But when you compare them to when we take resolution out the picture, with the Alpha 1 Mark II, it simply cannot compete.
You mean with the S1 too?
S1 too. You know what I'm trying to say. Shut up, fool.
You know what's crazy is everybody who is bitching about the S1 II price. So for extra $400, you get a way better camera. This new repackaged A7C II.
Yeah.
And everybody bitching about the rolling shutter on the S1R2. Where are you guys at now?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you guys at now?
Earlier.
Where's the pitchforks?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you at? Maybe just like hating on Lumix.
Mm.
Maybe that's just it.
Mm.
Yep. Maybe you don't know how to use your camera.
Mm.
Maybe you don't go outside. Maybe you're a virgin.
You just said foolishness. All right, bro. I don't know what you want, dude.
Yeah.
You just are you on your menstrual or something, bro? Like, what's going on? We
Uh-oh.
we're in agreement, dog. I'm not sure. Like, y'all know how I get sometimes, man. You bet. Hey,
Uh-huh.
we been in agreement with you. I don't know what you talk about. Terry
Terry, I
Cam's.
know a
Go
collab
ahead.
product we can do.
What?
We can make filmmaker tampons.
I knew he was about to say that. I knew he was about to say that. Terry, Cam live stream looks more cinematic than yours. Okay. It does. I don't care.
Oh, that wait, I thought he was saying both of ours were.
No, he said yours looks more cinematic than mine.
Oh.
It
I
does.
mean,
I
I did
mean,
show Terry how to set up his lighting, so.
yeah, yeah. So I will give credit, even I don't want to. I don't want to give him any credit. But y'all have been asking for like tutorials on how I get my live stream set up looking this way, and unfortunately, it was Cam that helped me figure it out. So, yeah. Anyways, on to better
Super
news.
chats.
Yeah. They're trying to get rid of A7 IV sensors because the A7 IV didn't sell as much as they thought it would have liked.
I don't think that's it.
I don't think that's correct. I think what happens is these companies have X amount of consignment, or they have X amount of sensors on consignment. And throughout the product cycle or life cycle of said sensor, they have to sell X amount of them. So when they still have sensors left, and maybe this makes what you said partially true because this is the only sensor, this is the only camera with the sensor in it. So it is directly tied to the camera, right? But I think they probably have more sensors than they have cameras, and they need to figure out a different way to move units. So I guess maybe you're kind of right, but I'll shut up, Cam. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean the A7 IV, I feel like that's like one of Sony's like best-selling cameras. I
It is.
remember before I paid any attention to Sony, a bunch of my homies were rocking that camera and they're all swearing by it. It's still a great camera. I have the
Mm-hmm.
Sony A7C II and I fucking love that camera. That thing's great. But compared to everything that's been coming out from Nikon and Lumix, it's not that great. Um, so yeah, just like Terry was saying, you have to understand, business is business. If you want to make if you want to get the cost down on purchasing sensors, you have to order more. You order more bulk. It's just like, say, if you have a retainer with a client, say if you're anybody who's like a working photographer or filmmaker, if you lock in multiple months, that's great for you because you got guaranteed money. But in order to lock that in, you lower that monthly rate.
Mm-hmm.
If they just want to hire for 1 month, your rate's higher because it's only a one-off job. It's the same shit with regular business. And I think people think, oh, it's Sony, so they have just direct access to their sensors. They're all different departments. There's money still being transitioning from a department to department. So, they're still a separate business, which is why Sony can make sensors for other manufacturers. And they're legally not allowed to share what that other company is asking, because they can still make tweaks to the sensors and shit. It could be the same
Yeah.
sensor, but they can still make tweaks to it. So it's all separate.
Awan, new sub. What up, dude? Plenty of other options that are significantly better, while also being zero reason to upgrade if you already have a Sony camera. Fair. This is why Canon EF and PL mount still reign supreme, no platform restriction. I would say
Yeah.
more so PL, but yes.
Also,
Only
shout out to Kyle. He made a dope video making full frame stuff into like medium format open gate almost. It's not technically that, but it kind of is. It's weird. So everybody go check out his channel after this live. It's a dope video.
I gotta check out. I've never seen Kyle or his work, so I'll definitely check it out. Only thing keeping us tied to Sony at this point is their lens selection. Hey,
Yep.
I gotta call a spade a spade. For me, it's two things, which the first one is becoming less and less of a point. Autofocus. Sony used to have a huge lead. The S12 is really good. Is it as good as Sony? No, but it's almost there to a point where I could use it with no problem, even in demanding circumstances. So that is becoming a moot point. But B, the lenses. Absolutely. The freaking lenses. Another super chat. Let's jump to it real quick. From, who is this? Kofi Yabo. Oh, the other member of SHIELD Team 6. Let's see what he has to say. At a conference in BC, what do we think that stands for, Cam?
I mean, it's Kofi, so it's only one thing, you know.
But send him my shield money to the boy. Shout out to my guy Kofi, man. Thank you for the super chat, my guy.
You guys, we're keeping it PG right now too. Off camera, it's tenfold worse. Just
I
imagine.
should pull up our group chat. No, I won't do that. I won't do that.
Oh no.
But shout out to Kofi, man. Appreciate you. Senegear, I'm hyped for it. We'll be there. I think, Cam, you going to Senegear, right?
Yeah. Just for one day on the 6th.
I'll be there from the 5th to the 8th. And then I gotta figure out build, man. But anyways, back on subject. Yeah, I'll be there, but I'm just waiting on a few pieces to get put together. Let's see. Where was we at? All right, Cinegear, I'm hyped for it. Lens selection is definitely the only thing Sony has going for them currently. But that is we can't minimize how big of a thing that is for them, though.
Yeah.
Like, Sony's lenses their selection is wild. Someone said they can't make enough money to purchase new gear. Bro, get your hustle on. What the F are you saying? I gotta agree.
Yeah.
You gotta get it in,
You guys,
man.
there's so much money out there to be made, and it's literally just waiting for people to come and take it.
It's crazy.
One of my favorite quotes is, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard enough. So imagine having both of those. Like, y'all gotta, there's more money out there.
There's no reason to upgrade if you already have a Sony camera, which I guess isn't what they're aiming for with this so anyways, but yeah. Cam just got more depth in the frame. That's it. Yeah, I know. Y'all roast in the comments has me rolling. Bunch of keyboard warriors, as always, in this space. Listen, man, you talking to two of probably the most petty people on YouTube right here. You should see some of the stuff we be saying back to people in the comments.
Oh, yeah.
I always keep it chill, but the moment you start talking crazy to me, you getting it back tenfold.
I'm telling you, bro, we got to start making filmmaker tampons.
Yep. Wild prediction, FX2 tilting EVF is going to suffer from a ton of repair orders due to handling damage. From drops to how it sticks out when putting in the bags and cases, we will see.
I mean, Sony's build quality is pretty damn good.
It is.
During my embargo meeting, I did ask if it was removable, because that was the first thing. Was like, that's gonna be annoying to put in and out of the bag. It is not. So I think they kind of missed the opportunity there. And you know what's funny? Everybody's bitching about the S12 saying, oh, it doesn't have an FX3 body. And all the FX3 body is a mirrorless camera without a viewfinder on it. And now they put the viewfinder back on, and now it's 3 times bigger. Where's everybody at again?
It is true, man. It seems like when Lumix moves a foot forward, everybody loses their minds.
Yep.
But when Sony does it, nobody got nothing to say. I don't understand the comparisons of an APS-C camera versus a full frame. They make no sense. I mean, really, the only differences now, truthfully, are freaking field of views. That's it. These crop sensor cameras these days are wild.
They're okay.
I'm still picking full frame all day, every day. But, all right, in y'all opinion, should I keep my S12 pre-order or wait for the S1H Mark II. Currently shooting with the S52X, working full-time in-house as a marketing videographer with occasional freelance work. I'm always going to tell you to buy what fits the need for now, because you don't know when the S1H Mark II is coming out, if or when. So if you have access to something that is going to make life simpler for you now and make your job easier and make you better at your job that you can afford, what's the point of waiting? If something else comes out in 7 months that's better than what you just bought, sell it. And I get money comes easier for people who work harder for it. That's kind of backwards, but you get what I'm trying to say. But at the end of the day, sell it and go work and move on to the next camera. I don't wait around for stuff. If I want it
Same.
and it serves a need or a purpose right now, I'm going to get it right now. I don't care if a new one's coming out in 2 weeks. I don't live life like that.
Before I was even doing YouTube and had access to, like, working with brands, I was still doing it my own money.
Yep.
It was always tax write-offs too, but it's like if something else came out that was going to make my job easier because I was working full-time doing the commercial stuff, I would sell all my shit and I would lose so much money on it just to get the new system because it was going to make my life easier.
Yep.
So I'm really used to changing systems. To me, it's not a big deal because I look at it when I do lose money switching out gear, I look at it as rental. It's like I lost $500 on that. So that was basically like a year-long rental I just did, but it made me way more money. So obviously if you're not making money off it, then I understand, that's harder to do. But with that, I would say go fucking make some money.
And here's the other side of it. Sometimes it's not even that you need the new gear. Sometimes new gear just make you freaking excited.
Yeah, it makes
Like,
you makes you want to shoot more.
Yep. So sometimes, yeah, you might lose a couple dollars selling your stuff, but if you get into something that's way more exciting for you and it gets you back in that mode to go create, you excited again, who cares about the money?
Mm-hmm.
You're going to make more money. This is one lesson I'm learning in life, man. And this is partly Cam's fault too. Like, you are going to make more money. Think about all the times you wanted to buy something and you was like, I don't know if I should buy that. And then you bought it anyways against your judgment. You survived. You made more money. You were just fine. So if you want a new system right now and you have the money and it's going to make you happy, to hell with what anybody got to say about it. Go do what makes you happy. You're going to lose money in your life. You're going to make way more money. Go do what makes you happy.
Mm-hmm. Just don't get into too much debt, people.
Yeah. For sure.
The only time I ever did that is if I ever put something on credit, it's because I knew I had a bag coming in over the next month or so.
Yeah.
And so I knew I was going to be able to pay it off. I had a business plan, basically, I guess we can call it, on, making debt purchases. So obviously be wise about it. But if you can afford it and you can manage it and you want to do it, but you got people saying don't do it, fucking, you're an adult. Do what you want to do. Just be responsible about it.
I'm the same way. Like, I do make large purchases, but I make sure I have a plan in place to cover it. And whether that's selling old gear, whether that's making sure, like, yo, all right, I want to buy something that's $10,000. That means for the next month, I need to have $10,000 in brand deals locked in. You know what I'm saying? So, again, y'all are grown. You grown as hell. Okay, we shouldn't have to tell you this stuff, but be smart with your money. Purchase within reason. Bo Hazem said, to me, I'm tied to Sony for still the most reliable autofocus. Can't argue with that. An insanely good real-time 4K 120 with audio that I use for sports and wildlife. Lumix has that. Although, Sony does still have the superior 4K 120. Because on the FX3 ZVE1, it's line for line, full center readout. Well, it's like a 1.1 times crop. But no line skipping, no pixel bending. But you only notice it when you look at them side by side. 4K 120 out there with S1 2 looks just fine. And you would only notice how much better the Sony is if you punch in like a freaking snob to both of them at 400%. Other than that, but I hear you. I'm not discounting that. Only Nikon Z9, Z8 have something comparable. 4K 120 real time. Well, now, Lumix has it too, buddy. And yeah, if it works for you and that's the best tool for you, use it. You don't have to switch. We gonna roll for another couple minutes because I got to get to the gym in a little bit. Man, I just want to see uncropped 4K 60 from Sony and something under 3,000. Thank you. Don't feel like it's too much to ask these days. I'm in 100% agreement. Coming out.
Yeah.
Now, we got to be fair. The the S12E does still have cropped 4K 60. And it is a new camera that just came out under 3,000. So we can't be hypocrites. Lumix just did it too. But because Lumix packed in so much more into the camera, it kind of offsets the 4K 60 crop. I mean, you're getting RA-Log C, you're getting Open Gate and false color and Lumix Lab and like everything else besides the kitchen sink in that thing. So I'm willing to forgive it in the S1 Mark II E. Because it's a hell of a camera for the money.
I haven't even looked at that camera because for extra $200 for 32, the S1 II, like, does everything you need.
What would be extra 700?
I thought it's 32.
The S1 II is 25. The S1 2E is 25. Idiot.
Yeah. No, I mean over his 3,000.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Fair point.
Idiot.
That's pretty mean. All right. Yeah, we're gonna go for a couple more minutes. Happy to see that it seems like people are willing to call out Sony. Won't shut up the haters, but it helps. And I don't want this to sound, again, like a call out. Y'all got to remember, this is our job. This is what we do, okay? Maybe it's calling out, but we bring awareness, I like to call it, to the good stuff out there, to the stuff that's not so good out there. And believe it or not, y'all, the companies actually appreciate it. They appreciate the feedback. Again, as long as we not online calling the companies D-bags and, stuff like that, the feedback to them is valuable. And when y'all sound off in the live stream comments, they actually look through these comments and they look through all the forums and boards and stuff like that. So, it is helpful to them. And again, I'm not trashing Sony, but I'm a person with my own opinion. I'm not being paid by them. I'm not exclusive to them or any other company. I'm going to say what I want to say. I don't like this release. FX turd. see, that type of stuff. Those are the things we typically won't say. We try to give them constructive feedback. But
that would be a fire title, though.
It would be. Sony can lower the price of the A7S III. Forgot about the ZV-E1. Thanks for the feedback. It honestly feels like a good way for Sony to get rid of excess A7 IV sensors. The way you spelled that is wild, Logan. Before the A7 V drops, they also get to test the waters with the new FX features. We agree. All right. Ooh. Oh, I thought you asked where's the moisturizer on my hands. I'm like, dang, bro.
I was about to cover my elbows.
Yeah, that's crazy. This is a black question, y'all. Terry, what do you use to moisturize your locks? I use it's a combination of rose water, peppermint oil, and peppermint oil.
I had some jokes.
Kofi says
we'll save those for off stream.
Yeah, you need to. Kofi says the market share shouldn't make you forget Logic. Talking to, what was his name again? The one that was cussing me out? Monk Larry. You heard what Uncle Kofi said. Kofi said, all right, Shield Team 6 is here. Uncle Kofi in the building. Cam, I can help you get those produced. I don't know what he's talking about. What is he talking about?
Tampons.
Oh,
filmmaker tampons.
Somebody said, call them campons.
Ooh.
Oh, that's fire. I would love to see you two drop a podcast together. That would be a wild podcast.
I don't know if we could do that.
Yeah, we would get canceled, bro.
Yeah.
We would get freaking canceled. Kofi is like the more tame one. It usually starts with Cam talking trash.
With Terry.
And
With
usually,
Terry.
Cam makes a lot of racist jokes.
No, don't you start.
Oh man, what else? FX2 is a beta test, so Sony can make some money on us before the next generation starts. Fair. Looking to upgrade my A7S3. S1 Mark II is the one I'm thinking of. Open gate to film vertical and horizontal is great for social media work. Yep. Members only podcast. Maybe that's something in the future. Kofi says selective outrage for the Lumix. Unfortunately, this man speaks no lies. It is very much selective outrage when it comes to Lumix. Lee, what up?
That's messed up, Doc.
Man.
That's mean, Doc.
Man. Man. That is those are Carmen Sandiego pants. All right.
I actually got these from Terry.
You did not
Stole from
get
his,
those.
I had a joke. I won't say.
Yeah, go ahead. No, you know where we got them from?
No.
Kofi's native country. That is zebra skin.
No. I was gonna say I got them from the back of Terry's Hellcat.
That's. Y'all see what I'm talking about? Do y'all see what I'm talking about? Listen, we got a real comment. The Lumix S12 is so good. The request now is a video-centered body with S12 features. Meanwhile, guys, please, who do I need to talk to at Panasonic to review that camera? All right, Cam, you address this one.
No comment.
Okay, so I will say that the only thing I can say is that, yes, we've given Lumix this feedback already, that we absolutely want a box version. You got the matching pillow? Man, what's going on?
Bro, I got a weird obsession with stripes.
Clearly. Wow. My guy pulled out matching pillows. It's crazy.
I got striped curtains. I got tons of striped shirts.
Hold on, another super chat. Hold up. Let's see what this is. Y'all have been real generous tonight. Thank you. But yes, so Shridex Digi, yes, we've already given Lumix that feedback. A lot of us have, that the people want a box version of the S1 series cameras. So given how Lumix operates, I would probably assume that they're going to do it one day. I can't confirm nor deny, but just given the fact that they typically listen to us when we tell them what everybody wants, and they see the comments in the forums and YouTube videos and all that stuff, Lumix tends to listen. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that one day. And who do you need to talk to Panasonic to review that camera? I mean,
Just make some content. It doesn't
Yep.
even have to be about Lumix. If you just make quality content and you can present value and you can actually build a real audience and community that, you know, people actually care about, you know, like involving themselves with you, then, you know, brands will start coming to you. You won't have to go to brands.
Yep. So, and also a lot of times people think the plugs work. The plugs don't work. If you got I hate to say small audience, but if you haven't built up an audience or a body of work that's worth a brand getting involved with, remember, it's a business at the end of the day. They're looking for a return of investment, whether that be views, whether that be exposure. So if I got somebody who just started a camera channel and they like, yo, I love Lumix cameras, Terry, give me a plug. And I go to Lumix like, yo, I need you to check this channel out. They're going to look at me like, Terry, what the hell? Like, you know, so the plugs don't work how good y'all think they do. The best advice we can give you is don't even worry about brands right now. Just go build an audience making the content that you love. And once you have an audience, the brands will come.
And guys, subs don't even matter as much anymore.
Right.
If you can, because if you just make again, valuable content that's authentic and real, not just you trying to get famous and get in with brands, but actually quality content. You know, you might not get that many subs these days. I don't know how it's looking right now. But if you're getting views and you're being recognizable for your opinions and the things and the value that you present, that's still enough to get invited to, you know, stuff like that.
So don't even put that. Don't even make that a goal. Like I see some people like, my goal is to get to condo or whatever. Forget all of that. That's not the goal. It look dope when you see your favorite creators there, but it's not as like it's a blessing, but it shouldn't be the goal. The goal should be building a audience that you can monetize, that is a loyal audience to you, that gives you value, that you also give value to. That is the goal. A lot of us that work with all of these brands, we're kind of, you know, in one way or another, this is a job. A lot of us are trying to take back control of our channels and trying to get away from having to do so many brand deals to make ends meet. So while I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, the focus should be build your core audience and all the perks and benefits will come.
Yeah.
You don't have to go seek it out.
I think Terry's kind of misusing the word audience, though. I think it's more community, because audience comes with community. So don't listen to Terry. Listen to everything he said except for that word.
Yeah, whatever.
You want to build a community, because the community shows it's real. And that's, you know, that's where brands start being like, oh, obviously, again, as Terry was just saying, it is a business for them. And obviously, they want to invite people that will link up with the camera well. Obviously, if they know someone's not going to like the camera, why the fuck is a business going to waste their money bringing that person in? Yes, it's marketing. If you don't like it, turn the fucking commercial off, okay? So, yeah. I don't know.
Troll again with the super chat. Thank you, bro, for being so generous. I really appreciate it. Why does this feels like Sony's funeral? I asked for this camera 5 years ago when my A7 IV first overheated. Instead, they gave us the Sony Venice umbilical cord. Oh, yeah, forgot about that thing. Calling it the Sony Venice umbilical cord is wild. And a G Master lens, the cost of a used Ultima. Shout out to HorseBots3 for subbing. I don't think this is Sony's funeral. W commented the stream for sure.
Yeah.
It's not Sony's funeral. As we've kind of stated, technology, cameras are a game of cycles. And what's happening is Sony's not on cycle right now. And I don't mean like menstrual period. I mean like, you know, this is their cool off period. I think we should look at it like. To think that they will never come back when they are the leader in mirrorless and lens production will be asinine. I think we're just seeing right now temporary passing of the torch to Lumix because Lumix is hungry. Lumix has had these cameras in development for a long time. And when they finally dropped them, they were like bombshells to the camera world. But to think that this will never happen again or that Sony won't come back out swinging, or Nikon won't, or, you know. So this is just like the temporary passing of the torch, the leapfrog. Sony's not dead. Although I agree with you, I don't like this release at all. I think it's pretty pointless. This is not the death of Sony.
Terry's channel is sponsored by Lumix, though.
Dang.
And so Terry's like, hey, bro, I'm going to get you on the live. So I'm going to send you this bag. And so, yeah, this segment is sponsored by Lumix. Everybody go out there and get the S12, get the S9. Just, you know, buy Lumix, guys.
Hey, everybody put shill money in the chat right now. Shill money. Hashtag shill money. Hashtag shill money.
We got it in this Lumix bag. What the heck?
Shill money in the chat. I need to see it. Cam got the Beetlejuice pants on. Oh, that's crazy, bro. Those are Beetlejuice pants. All right.
I'm proud, all right?
All right. Okay, so we're going to knock out like 5 more comments, and then we're going to wrap this stream up. First of all, again, this was not a Sony bash session. Hopefully Sony takes the feedback from the people in the community. You hear that, Cam? Community.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That we want more. So that's number one. Number two, this is not the death of Sony. Number three, Lumix is damn good right now. And we will continue to use whatever the best tools that are out there for us. So if the FX3 Mark II comes and it's the new king of the hill and it's got all the features that we want, need, etc., we'll probably get a hold of it and start using it. So we're not bound to Lumix or anything. Like we just go with the tools that work the best for us right now. And Lumix, I will say for me, Cam will say for him, Kofi will say for him, they're checking the most boxes right now.
Mm-hmm.
So shout out to all the people that were in the stream. I think we were up to like 130, 40 people at one point, and all the way down to like 40 people at one point. But I appreciate every single one of y'all. Let's put W's in the chat for Cam joining in. All right, let's drop some W's in the chat. In his freaking Where's Waldo pants. His Beetlejuice pants. That is funny. But we've been live for just about 3 hours, and I got to get on with my day. So,
Damn.
Yeah, we had 2 hours and 50 minutes. So FX2 Judgment Day. Wow. Wow. Cam, somebody asked, are you about to go live?
I was thinking about it, but I got my ADHD dopamine dump from this. So yeah, guys, remember these are all just fucking cameras. Go out there, go make some shit. These cameras aren't made for us to be fucking collecting them and talking about tech specs all the time. They're made to make shit. Yeah. So go out there and make shit. Go buy, like I just bought an XT5 because I tried the new Fujifilm X-Half. I didn't need this, but it's inspired me already to make shit for no reason. So that's how I utilize this gear. So even though this new FX2 is a little bit of a dud of a release, it's still a solid camera. You know, people are still gonna get a lot of joy out of it, and that's great for them. So at the end of it though, let's try to be a little bit more positive around what we already have, what we're interested in, what we might buy moving into the future. Cause yeah, I don't know, I'm so mind blown that all these Lumix releases had so much hate, and now Sony just released a dud, and where is everybody at now? Yeah. So yeah, let's all do our part on trying to be a little bit more positive and actually creative.
Yeah, and I think you said something that was powerful. This is still a good camera, all right? Any new camera that drops these days is still way more than capable of doing what 99% of us need. Okay, this is just another tool in the toolkit. There was plenty of cameras before it. There will be plenty of cameras after it. The entire community is not hinged on this one camera. This camera will be released. People will forget about it and go on to the next one. So don't be so invested and attached to your freaking camera. Like you said, it's just a freaking camera. And that's it, man. So thank you to everybody who watched and joined. Thank you to all the people who dropped super chats. Thank you for all the support on both of our channels. And we love y'all. And until next time, shout out to Cam's Pants and piece of chicken grease.
Also, guys, there'll be a link in the description to the tampons, the filmmaker tampons. So check those out.
Oh yeah, and we might as well plug your presets. You just dropped some presets too, right?
Not kind of, sort of, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, just go check out my LUTs.
Yeah, he got LUTs and stuff like that. So if you want to be like Cam Mackey, then go get his LUTs. But yeah, that's it, y'all. Peace. Love y'all. Talk to y'all soon.